Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Hi, everybody. Can you guys let me know if you can hear me and do like a thumbs up? I need to test the audio on YouTube. Test, test, test. Okay, here we go. Thank you, AMK. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Was that Derek? All right. So I'm just waiting. It's been a minute. Like, it's been over a month since I've been on Twitter Space or hosting a space. So I sent the judge the link, just waiting for him to log on and log on the space now. And with he should be in shortly. Actually, let me send it to him again. Can everybody who is in the room right now, can you tweet out the space? Can you tweet it out? And actually, I'm going to share it again as well. The people in my space. Are you already in here? Here, 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 here. I guess we could do that. No, I'm not gonna do that. Then, yeah. So, what we gonna talk? Oh, we're gonna talk about the China cyber attacks on the U.S. that happened yesterday, and I watched the Netflix "Leave the World Behind," and that was straight bullshit. It was nothing but propaganda coming from the Obama administration. Hi, TJ. Hi, Food Chill. Hi, everybody that's on YouTube. Um, Anybody want to request to come up now? You can before the judge come up if you want to say anything about the topic or anything else. Because of course, I'm pretty sure this conversation is going to um, morphosize into other things. Because I started to talk about Ebony K. Williams and her delusional dating requirements, but I ain't really feel like focusing on her ass. Um, and then I thought about talking about Denzel and Antoine Fuqua, the director. He's going to be directing a movie, Hannibal, and Denzel's going to play Hannibal, the African warrior who conquered into Italy and fought against the Romans. Um, and now the country of Tunisia, is saying that Hannibal wasn't dark. He wasn't a dark skinned man or something, else, or wasn't African. So they're upset that Denzel is playing him. Um, and then it's like, you know what? Let's talk about China's cyber attacks on the US. But if you guys want to talk about that and bring it up or bring up anything else, please do so. And of course, you can always request to come up if you want to do it now or if you want to wait till the judge come on. And it does take the judge a minute because of his slow Wi-Fi. I'm going to space now. Okay, I text him the link. Yeah. However, because I have not been hosting a space, I have been on coming into other people's spaces, just mainly listening. And, a lot of people are doing great things on Twitter, a lot of networking, it's still a lot of drama. Um, Miss G, she holds really good spaces and she's doing the debate this coming Saturday with Marcel Dixon and that man Cam Howard from Cobra. So that's going to be good. Um, if I have time, I'll put it in the jumbotron. If I go to her, I'm gonna go to her Twitter. Well, I keep saying Twitter's X, but I'm gonna go to her profile and post it in the jumbotron. So yeah, so I hope you guys tune in Saturday. Um, are you? Is you in a space now? Are you in a space, Joey? Yes. Can you please look at the evidence we have relating to the Young Dorf case? We have solid proof that Young Dorf was kidnapped, robbed, and murdered by members of his family and Tennessee government. Ooh, I would definitely ask the judge when he come up. Thank you, Young Dorf Unsolved. I didn't know that. I thought he was gunned down. All right, so you know what? We're going to add that in the conversation tonight. Thank you, Young Dorf Unsolved. Okay. So I'm definitely going to ask the judge about that. But what do you guys think? Do you think that America will go under via cyber attacks from a foreign entity like China or Russia or North Korea? Under this administration, anything is possible. Uh, let's see. Let me see something. Are you logging on? Yeah. Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, so Leave the World Behind. If you guys didn't see it, listen, it's 2 hours and 20 minutes that you'll never get back. It started off being like a Twilight Zone ish type of movie. And then the ending was so stupid. It was so dumb. It didn't make any sense. And if they were trying to say that the youth, particularly kids, are so desensitized and just want to focus on the personal fulfillment of enjoyment, it doesn't matter. The ending was still dumb. It was so stupid. You had Tesla cars on autopilot driving down a freeway, crashing into each other. The whole thing was dumb. You had one Hispanic woman running across the field onto the highway, waving down Ethan Hawke in a car, crying in Spanish. She couldn't speak English, right? Saying something in Spanish, crying like she's terrified. There were no zombies. So it was like, what the fuck are you terrified of? Nobody was after anybody because nobody wasn't around. So where did the non-speaking Hispanic, maybe she was an illegal migrant, where did she come from running out of the fields onto the highway? That was dumb. Airplanes crashing from the sky, I guess because the cybersecurity they took over or whatever. That whole movie, that whole 2 hours was a waste of time. So it was all about North Korea hacking our satellite, and it was like a cyber attack on the US. No television, no Wi-Fi, no nothing. And then they started bombing Manhattan, right? And so yesterday it comes out that China did indeed cyber attack the US infrastructure. I think in Hawaii or somewhere in Texas, they hit like utility ports and stuff like that. And the black girl in the movie had an attitude. Her underarms wasn't shaved. So she was like this woke black feminist, pro black BLM chick. She kept saying, oh, a hacking, they probably hacked the utility. So it was dumb. And I think it is all a game. It just so happens that Leave the World Behind came out Friday on Netflix, and then China cyber attacks our utility ports, our infrastructure on Monday. Really? So I think it was all planned and everyone is aware of it. Yeah. Actually, I'm about to call him to see where he's at because I'm not trying to be up here. Like, I hate waiting. I hate waiting like this. Okay, Jared, you said the movie was good. Oh my God. No, it was not that good. It was, you know what pissed me off? It was the ending. The ending pissed me off. The ending pissed me off with the movie. So, anybody want a request to come up to talk about whatever? And hi to everybody on YouTube. Nothing else isn't trending right now. Okay, so he just texted me. He's logging on. Jeez. Oh my God. And honestly, so it's usually every Tuesday that, this is Judge Joe Brown Twitter space. I'm just facilitating it because he don't have time to be going through all that. So every Tuesday, he was after the election, he was busy. He was on Valuetainment. He did an interview there. And then he was sick for like a week, and then I don't think we did it last week because of something else. He was just got busy. And then now we're back. So it's been what, a month? It's been a minute. So, he's going to start getting back on schedule, coming on Twitter Space every Tuesday. Um, okay, you said the movie was good, but they wanted to end it lightheartedly, yeah, which was dumb. So you have the family you had the family outside trying to find a girl, and she finds the upscale doom shelter, right? The doomsday shelter, which was like upscale because they were in a wealthy neighborhood with all these mansions, and she's eating all this junk food at the table, and then she see, oh my god, okay, this is the doomsday shelter, and they have this big screen TV with all the movies and sitcoms, and they have Friends because she was obsessed with Friends. And she sits down in front of the TV and watches the last episode of Friends that she couldn't watch because the Wi-Fi went out upstairs in the real world. And then the movie goes off. What? You got the deers looking like they're gonna attack the humans. You got a non-speaking illegal immigrant Hispanic running from the fields onto the highway. Kevin Bacon, about to shoot the black man because, I guess every man for himself. People dropping, I guess China dropping bombs, bombing Manhattan. It was a complete shit show. And then now in real life, China cyber attacking utility ports. Yeah, I didn't understand the deers either. But the conclusion I did come to is nature always wins. Because the animals sent something. Oh, and then they had that radiation signal that mess up your ears. It's the same shit that allegedly happened in Cuba a few years ago. It was so dumb. 2 hours and 20 minutes for an ending like that. That's why I'm pissed. That's why I said that movie was just bullshit. It was bullshit. It's a waste of time. Terrifying hacks on critical infrastructure have arrived. America isn't ready. Oh my God. China's cyber intrusions have hit ports and utilities, officials say. Yeah. China's cyber army is invading critical U.S. services, including Hawaii. Uh, The Chinese military is ramping up its ability to disrupt key American infrastructure, including power and water utilities, as well as communications and transportation systems. Oh, um, I put in a jumbotron my website, therealdananetwork.com. Guys, please go to the website and subscribe so you can hear Judge Joe Brown uncensored, because I can't really have him on YouTube like that no more because YouTube is on some other shit. And he will talk about any and everything, the stuff that he can't probably talk about even on Twitter. So it is subscription based, only $10. And subscribe so you could get him uncensored. And there's some other stuff that I'm going to be adding up there. A lot of archive video of the judge that people haven't seen. I'm going to be uploading that, but he will be live on the website. So please go to the website and sign up. It's in the Jumbotron. Hi, Robbie.
Hi Dana, how you doing? I just had a quick question because I need to rewatch that movie. I kind of fell asleep on it at a certain point, but
Hmm.
did they ever confirm that it was in this, scenario that it was China attacking in the movie, because when I read a synopsis on it, it was saying that it actually was a coup from within the United States. Like it was like elites doing the coup, which kind of to me made sense. You know what I mean? And I think they were highlighting everybody's distrust of one another and how that, plays into
Mhm.
part.
Well, Mashallah said at the end, he was like, because Kevin Bacon was like, it's not China or Russia, it's Korea. And so when Mashallah was in the car, the black guy, he was like, well, a friend of mine, his elite friend, he was, he was, you know, it was a project, and it was a project that he was real nervous about, and it was about Korea. So he alluded to, it was a foreign entity or some mess. Judge, I sent you the co-host request. So yeah, oh my god, what is this?
Okay, I'll make sure I rewatch it. I think I fell asleep at the part where they were like listening to some jazz. They were listening to some records, and then they were kind of like flirting with each other or
Yeah,
something.
what was that about? You listen to the next, and I'm like, out of all the music, you want to put that on a white girl, Julia Roberts, and you can't even dance on rhythm. It was, to me, the whole thing was just dumb, and that's why. And then of course they had, why it was, honestly, it wasn't even no racial. They put in a racial element of the black girl. Oh, don't trust white people, and it wasn't even about race. It was really about classism, the have and the have nots. Because if you wasn't wealthy, you couldn't afford an elegant doomsday bunker or be somewhere safe because you got a heads up. You would have been killed like everybody else. So,
You know what caused me to watch the movie? And hello, Judge. I saw something trending saying Barack Obama and Michelle Obama were supporting a film that criticized white people. That's what made me watch the film.
right. And it was only one scene when she said, don't trust white people. Like, girl, bye. Hi, Judge.
Hi there.
All right. So we was just talking about the movie Leave the World Behind via, but the main topic is the China cyber attacks on the US. But of course, conversations usually develop into other things, because I do have a question that somebody put on YouTube. But let's start with China. China's cyber attacks. Let me just read this. It says, and this came out Monday. Um, China's cyber's army is invading critical U.S. services. A utility in Hawaii, a West Coast port, and a pipeline are among the victims in the past year. Um, the Chinese military is ramping up its ability to disrupt key American infrastructure, including power and water utilities, as well as communications and transportation systems, according to U.S. officials and industry security officials. Hackers um, affiliated with China's People's Liberation Army have borrowed into the computer systems of about 2,000 critical entities over the past year. The intrusions are part of a broader effort to develop ways to sow panic and chaos or snarl logistics in the event of a U.S. China conflict in the Pacific. Among the victims are a water utility in Hawaii, a major West Coast port, and at least one oil and gas pipeline. People familiar with the incidents told the Washington Post. The hackers also attempted to break into the operator of Texas Power Grid, which operates independently from electrical systems in the rest of the country. Did you hear me?
Me? Yes, I heard you.
So, and it's just so ironic that the movie Leave the World Behind, which the US was under attack, the satellite was hacked by, I guess, a foreign entity, that dropped Friday. And now it's reports that China was hacking into our cyber security as of yesterday. So, I want to get your thoughts on China cyber attacks and why and what happens if, they really did do it.
You
Should we be
ever
concerned?
walk the dog? You ever walk a dog?
Yes.
Put a leash on the dog?
Yep.
And when you're training the dog to heel, what do? When it gets out of hand or wants to pull, you yank back and do a few other things until it gets used to heeling. So later you can take the leash off and say heel boy or heel girl, and they will walk down the street without the leash and they hang right off of your left heel, right? You've done that.
Go ahead.
Now, China controls the world stock exchanges and they stabilize them. They stabilize the world's currencies, all of them, including the American dollar. And they control more than 80% of the world's manufacturing capacity in the United States, Japan, Germany, Britain, France, everybody else, Russia, in combination, make up the other 18 to 20% of the world's manufacturing capacity. The largest nation on the planet. They've got 1,320 some million people, and most of them go as far as they can go in college. They are leading in a lot of the hard sciences, fastest computer setup in the world. Go in your kitchen and try to find something in there that's not marked made in China. Your iPhones, your iPads, your Apple laptops, your Macs, most of your PCs are made in China. Do you honestly believe that when they make all of these myriads of devices that interact with the American and European and South African, South American internet, net services, and web, you don't think they put backdoors in? And what they do is every now and then, when the capitalist thing gets out of control, since they are the world's largest sovereign investor, and that makes them the world's largest investor in stocks, bonds, securities, etc., they say, you guys are getting a little out of control. Let's bring it back. So when they do this, they're kind of like, okay, doggy, you're on a leash. It's a choke chain. So we have to teach you to cooperate and listen to what Master China wants you to do. And just like with this leash, when you train a dog to heel, we are every now and then giving you a little tug at the end of this leash so you know what's going on. Now, as I heard a Chinese diplomat say one time, we're not trying to destroy the United States. We've sunk a lot of money into it. We practically own it. So why should we destroy our property? We are not a capitalist country, but we do capitalist investments. So uh, we're here to make money for the people. So why should we risk our investments? So what you call harassment or attempted destruction is just us ensuring that we continue to make the enormous amounts of money that we make. Like, for example, what's I told you earlier, what's the world's largest market for Buicks? It's the People's Republic of China. You know, the United States government has been trying to influence the Chinese government to get their people to save less money and spend more. They have a large interest in controlling the harbors and storage facilities, the oil companies, and everything else. They sit back and grin and say, "Oh, marvelous device." They don't even realize what's going on. And if we give them a little prompting every now and then and put it out there in the news media that we own the stock for most of CBS, NBC, ABC, the Hearst newspapers, Associated Press, United Press International, etc. And we get them thinking about, oh, the Chinese are trying to destroy our country. We shock them a little bit. So You know, we keep things running the way we want them to run. So I'm not surprised. And as far as breaking into stuff, the F-35 attack fighter fleet, stealth fighter fleet that we rely upon, and is the most expensive defense project outside of perhaps the Manhattan Project that came up with the atomic bomb that we've ever been involved in. Well, it's 11 to 12 years behind because that long ago the Chinese hacked it. Chinese said it wasn't the government, it was just one of our smart people playing around. We'll take care of it for you guys. Meanwhile, you ought to know that it is possible to hack into your system, disable any one aircraft or all of your aircraft in your fleets owned by, let's see, who else owns F 35? Oh, yeah, Japan, England, France, Germany, Italy, Australia, New Zealand, Canada. We can disable the one individual airplane on the ground or in the air, or and so it'll crash, or the entire fleet. So the U.S. spent so much money on the hardware, they couldn't afford to strip it out and put something else in. So they tried to do software workarounds, but there are too many likely back doors in the system that would likely make any set to in the South China Sea, which is highly likely over Taiwan, to be a disaster from our side. And from what I've been looking up, researching, the U.S. has about 2 days worth of ammunition stockpile, missiles, artillery shells, and small arms stuff, um, to shoot it out in the South China Sea with the Navy of the People's Republic, the Army of the People's Republic's Navy, about 2 days worth of ammo for active shootout. It'd take about 5 years of production to get it back up what it was about a year or so ago before we gave so much away to the Ukraine and now so much more to Israel when
So what are you saying? Are you saying
we
that
are
their military is more stronger than ours?
they have the largest military in the world. They have the largest navy in the world, the largest air force in the world, the largest army in the world, and they've got 1,320,000, 1,320,000,000 people, and we have 360 million people, about 1 billion less. So they can afford to get a
So
little
why is it?
population
And I'm gonna
control
get
with
to
a
the
shooting.
and I'm gonna get to the hands. I just have another question. So why have we allowed to do so much trading and business with China to the point to where we're vulnerable when it comes to this cyber security?
Well,
So
we are in a hawk to them. You know what happens if you borrow too much money from the mob and you can't pay them back? You either get a broken kneecap, an opportunity to see if you can fly off of a 4-story building, or you become useful to the mob for other purposes. So, starting with the Reagan administration in the early 1980s, when they went to that voodoo trickle down economics, that's what George Herbert Walker Bush called it. We made up for the extreme government deficits by borrowing money from the Chinese. Before, we couldn't have done it, but Tricky Dick Nixon, and only Tricky Dick Nixon, engineered a rapprochement with the People's Republic of China in 1974. And since 1982, the United States has borrowed literally trillions of dollars of money from the People's Republic of China, and we haven't even made one interest payment on it yet. So I think the total is north of 30 some $1 trillion we owe the Chinese. And uh, for part of the George Herbert Walker Bush administration, for a good chunk of the George Bush administration, not so much Clinton's, but definitely the Obama administration. Our solution to the economic crisis was to borrow my money from the Chinese, so we owe them.
Mhm. I want
And
to. Oh,
I told you one other thing too. I mentioned this months ago, years ago, and I noted when I was in New Jersey and we had that thing with the three Biden laptops where I personally read the downloads for the three of them and observed some of the things that are on the downloads, including some White House tapes that include video, where there is a scene in there where Obama, Bush Hunter, Bush Joe, they're in there discussing with a Chinese representative about the $100 million in cash put on deposit for a corporation that went through Hunter Biden and Obama. Joe and Hunter were each getting $10 million apiece, and the deal was to back the U.S. Navy off of aggressive counter patrolling of the People's Navy of China, so that they could, without hassle, build these little concrete emplacements on small atolls in the South China Sea, which is pretty shallow, and then claim 200 miles radius around those constructs of territorial jurisdiction, which is causing a problem. So the Navy was supposed to back off. A couple of months after that tape was dated, if you read Military Times, the naval section of it,
nobody reads that.
well, I do, but it was interesting to correlate it with the complaints by the admirals that it was wrong to call them off of aggressive counter patrolling in the South China Sea.
So I'm about to get to the hands. Should we
Now,
read the military newspaper or magazine?
it's
Is
called
this
Military
related?
Time.
Military time. So is it related to the cyber attacks?
No, well,
So
it gives you a background. When I'm saying cyber attacks, I think it's more in line of, hey, you're pulling on the leash, bring your ass back here and heel.
oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Bad boy. You
Right.
just
Okay.
yank the leash. That's why I said,
Right.
have you ever trained a dog to heel? What do you do when it hasn't learned and it's not obedient? You yank the leash.
Right. All right. So Ron, you kind of you were Robbie was up first, and me and you were talking, but Robbie, did you have something for the judge? And Ron, can you put your hand up? I didn't know if
I'm
you
I'm
wanted to
I'm gonna
speak.
keep it. I'm gonna keep it really quick because I see Miss D.
Okay.
Basically, what the judge laid out was confirmation of something I was reading yesterday, and they were talking about the arms race, so to speak, for quantum computing. They already have quantum computers now, but what they're saying is when they reach their, I guess, their ultimate level, those computers can basically disarm a whole infrastructure. Like they can crack codes to anything. It's like an all-knowing computer, right? So right now they haven't gotten quantum computing where they want it, but the US is in a race right now with guess who? China.
Yeah, they're in the league. They've got the world's most powerful computer system in China, not the United States. It's the fastest.
All right, so I want to go to Ron, Misty, and then Denmark. Um, so if anybody want to request to come up, please do so. It's just that when you request to come up, just raise your hand so I know that you want to speak. Go ahead, Ronald.
And what's up? What's up? Shit's Judge, what's good? What's up? Hey, yeah, man. Yeah, I watched the movie the other night, and I.
Wait, do me a favor. Turn the music
My
down in the
fault. My
back.
fault. All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's
Can
better.
you hear me? All right. Yeah, I watched the movie the other night. I didn't find out until like yesterday that the Obamas had something to do with the production, and to me that
Yeah,
make it
I'm
even
sorry,
more.
kids. Just turn the whole music off because
Oh, let me take
it's
this.
feedback. It's feedback. Okay,
Yeah, can you hear me better now?
much
Can you
better.
hear me better
Yes.
now? All
Yes.
Earphones. Um, but yeah, I watched the movie the other night. I just found out yesterday that the Obamas had something to do with the production. That I feel like that make it a little bit more like kind of like crazy. You know what I mean? Because yeah, you do know that whatever the America and China got going on, but you also know how dependent that we are of, you know what I mean, like the internet. You know what I mean? Like if they cut the internet off, they cut the lights off, like that's gonna cause panic and just think within your own household how much panic that should have caused. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't know how to get around no more without GPSs. People don't really carry cash like that no more. Like it is like I'm not even gonna lie. I feel like that movie is like kind of like a wake up call for the people. Like you know what I mean? To get your life in order. Like you know, I almost feel like you know what I mean. Like I'm not living right because I don't got a damn bunker. Like how would I protect my family? Like it almost make you put on your tinfoil hat like that. But
Um. Well, so
think
Judge,
about
do you
Let
what?
me add one thing. You have to understand. My analogy was to a dog chain when you're trying to train a dog. It's your dog. The dog lives in your house or on your premises. The dog is of use to you, so you don't hurt your dog. You just train it. So what my point is we are so deep in hock to the Chinese in terms of actual debt load, in terms of their stabilizing all of the stock exchanges that are involved with us and that we are involved in, and in stabilizing our currency as well as every other major currency in the world. We're their dog. And we're looking at a farce. It's no conspiracy to destroy us. It's a conspiracy, not really a conspiracy. It's just game plan for we'll win because we can not allow capitalism amongst our citizens. We can say it's for the collective good, but we can use the process of capitalism for the benefit of the people of China. And that's what they're doing.
Well, I guess
See, China
to
has long looked at the West, Africa, and everybody else as a bunch of heathen barbarians. And because of their own ineptitude and foolishness, they got drug off into several centuries of being minor players on the world. But they are the most ancient continuous civilization on the planet. And they think they should and they intend to run things.
Mhm. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Yeah, I think to Ronald's point, and then I'm gonna go to Miss D. Basically, if well, you didn't see the movie, but basically, it's like doomsday. And if you don't have like a doomsday bunker, and somebody does invade or attack us, whether it's cyber attacking us or whatever, or physical, what are regular people to do, especially people that live in like the city where it's very congested. How should people prepare?
I think what this is the one that the Obamas are behind, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a red herring. They want the public to be freaked by that, go build some fallout shelters, get worried about a takeover by the Chinese, when the reality that they participated in, particularly since Barack was in that White House video talking to that Chinese representative while he's leaned up against the Oval Office desk with his arms folded while he's talking, is that it's already a done deal. This is just a throw off so the public doesn't get an idea of what's really going on. We're going around talking about, oh, wow, we got to go build bomb shelters again. They're going to take this over. No, they've already done it. They're just
Right.
giving us a little leash tug. Nice doggy, bring your ass back here and
And,
heal.
and maybe that's why the ending of the movie is the little white girl in front of the TV watching Friends while everything is havoc upstairs. All right, hi, Misty. Miss D, you got me.
Good evening, Dana. Good evening, Judge. Always a pleasure. Well, I saw the title, but I didn't see the last of the title. So I was a little late to the party. And then Rhino asked the question that I was going to ask. So I got the answer because I was like, when I saw it, I say, oh, leave the world behind. Okay, so that's what I was going to ask. Um, Last month, I ran across a video um, of the news stating that in so many years that the internet is going to be cut off. And I ran across that clip and I kept it. So Saturday, my daughter was like, she was fixing to get off the phone. It was a movie she wanted to watch. And so I asked her the name. I said, okay, I'll watch it. So I looked and seen the actors. I said, oh, I like both of them. So never read what it was going to be about. So when it was all happening, it kind of shook me a little bit because like I said, I had just saw the video of them saying that the internet's supposed to go off in so many years and all this and that in the video. So
Your audio went out. Can you hear me, Judge?
Oh, I can hear. I
Okay.
would ask a
But we
question.
can't hear her. So Miss D, drop down and come back up because your audio went out.
I would ask Miss D, why would they destroy the internet system when all they need to is continue to refine it and use a Doppler technique to crowd more communications into the available wavelengths so they can, so not they, but so humanity can more efficiently expedite its communications.
Mhm.
That makes you dependent upon it, but it's kind of sort of like, let's back up a little further. Why don't we get rid of thermostats and, central heating and air and microwaves and televisions and all the other stuff? What utility would be in that, unless maybe you're trying to train some people to maybe colonize Mars where those services may not be available?
Right. And that's what they're trying to do, colonize it. Miss D, your audio went out. We can't hear you if you're trying to speak. So just drop down and then request to come back up. I'm gonna go to Denmark, New Negro, and Max.
It's not New Negro, ma'am.
What is it?
It's the Negro Black Knights Heritage Club. We're two different organizations.
Oh, the Negro. The Negro. I just see NW. I'm just gonna call you Commander.
did, and like he
It's all
always
love.
says, it's a message in every movie.
Okay, there you go,
So,
Miss D. Now we can hear you. I don't know what happened.
oh my God, I was
You was
oh
talking
I
the whole
don't
time?
the whole time.
Yeah, well, you must didn't hear us because we could not hear you. And I was like, drop down and come back up.
No, I couldn't hear y'all at all. I couldn't hear
Okay.
y'all at all. But anyway, it's okay. But yeah, that movie kind of shook me a little. And I
Okay.
was saying, like I always go back and listen to Judge Joe Brown old talk shows from We All Be TV. I do the same thing with Neely Fuller. So Neely Fuller always says a message in every movie because when the guy was on the video I saw today was doing the prediction of when these other countries get out the way, when they get these other countries out the way, Russia and China is going to band together and basically bring down the US for Gaddafi and a lot of other things that they have done. So when I went in the comments and looked and found out that Michelle and Barack made this movie, Leave the World Behind, that further just like shook me a little more. Cause like I said, I always listen to Neely Fuller when he says a message in every movie. Plus, I ran across a video last month of a news clipping saying that the internet's supposed to go off in a certain amount of years. So with that video I found last month, then this movie that I watched Saturday, and then the prediction I saw today, I heard of today. Not really his prediction, but when I found out that Michelle and Obama was the producers of that movie, it just really got my mind just like going. So that's all I was saying.
Okay.
And what you think about that, Judge Joe Brown, about them saying about the internet?
It's not going anywhere, and if it does go somewhere, it'll be because there is a viable replacement for the thing.
All
Throughout
right.
my
Oh, you was
lifetime,
gonna say.
I've heard a number of such predictions. Okay, back in the early 1960s, you know what the phrase was that was out there that was like this one: God is dead. Now, is God dead? Even though people were saying it just like they heard about the internet is going down. That's somebody's hyperbole or puffery or exaggeration to make a point. And because people make these kinds of prognostications, does not lend validity to them. So when something is of the utility of the net, that's like saying, are we going to get rid of cars? Perhaps, yes. Likely, yes. But is that because we're going to step back to horse and buggy, or there is perceived to be something more efficient with mass and then individual transportation? Okay, the horse is out of it. No one will ride horses. Everyone will walk. No, they didn't do that. What they wound up doing is they invented steam engines and railroads and steamships and they invented internal combustion engines, airplanes, and the horses make nice domestic animals and pets, and they're fun to ride. But we got rid of the horse, but was that because we took the retro step back to walking, or because we got something to replace the horse?
Okay. I want to go to Denmark and then the Negro, sorry, and Max and Shaw. Go ahead, Denmark. And guys, make sure you have your hands risen if you want to speak. Denmark, are you
Yes, I'm
there?
here, Dana. Can you hear me okay?
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Hey, great kinds of conversation. Thank you for the room. Judge Joe Brown, always good to hear from you. I really enjoy the wisdom and knowledge that you be putting down. Yeah, I enjoy it. The reason I wanted to come up was to speak to what Judge Joe Brown said earlier about China being a military superpower, and I wanted to throw a couple of things into the dynamics to see what Judge Joe Brown thought about that. What I'm about to say. Um, the reason that I don't consider China a superpower is because mainly because of logistics. They do have a very large army, but they have a very difficult time. They would have a very difficult time deploying them globally. They would do well regionally, but because their ships are still operating off of diesel. They don't have nuclear technology the way that we do, where our ships are able to deploy around the world without having to refuel. China's carriers literally have to have a fueler follow them. And because of that reason, they're considered more of a regional. Well, plus their carriers don't uh, do nighttime operations. They aren't, their carriers aren't war tested the way the United States carriers are. The United States carriers run back about 100 years since we've been operating our carriers. which means that we have the experience of operating in inclement weather, nighttime operations, deploying globally, being able to do takeoffs and landings simultaneously, and all that there type stuff. China doesn't really have that going for them yet. Um, and China ranks behind North Korea and South Korea when it comes to submarine technology. And because China is relying on fuelers to in their convoy with their aircraft carrier, nuclear submarines are become very integral in the fight, so to speak. And China ranks behind North Korea and South Korea when it comes to submarine efficiency, or whatever the word might be. Um, the United States is by far the most technologically advanced war machine in the world. We're one of the only, if not the only, that is able to and readily able to deploy anywhere in the world. Primarily because of our nuclear technology, we can deploy just about anywhere in the world on the drop of a dime. If there's a problem being presented to the United States of America, within 7 business days, we can be on your shores and ready to go. There aren't any other countries that have that capability. So with that being said, they might have a million or so soldiers, but they're regionally locked. Um, they would be able to deploy, but it wouldn't be an easy task, or an efficient task for them to deploy globally. Um, in my opinion, they'd be like fish in a barrel attempting to do that
Okay,
against the
let
United
me ask you a
States.
question.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you a
Yes.
question. How far is it from mainland China across the straits to Taiwan?
Taiwan, China, I would say, I'm guessing, I would say a few hundred miles, maybe.
Not that
Oh,
far.
okay.
But here's the problem.
Yes.
If we are to resist, we have to be able to get troops there. We don't really have the operational capacity right now. Most every naval ship, except the aircraft carriers, most every ship is undercrewed. They're overworked, undertrained because they have manpower or people power shortages. The Chinese are operating on interior lines of communications. They have an utterly massive amount of high tech ordnance that is within range of any likely deployment of the U.S. Navy to the South China Sea. They don't need aircraft carriers because they've got land bases. That was the big problem with fighting Germany and down in Italy. How does the Navy resist an area that, unlike in the Pacific, where the Japanese Empire was spread out over a number of islands and small territories, how do you deal with opposition where somebody's got local air power? They've got 1,200 fifth generation fighters in China and they're building. We've got 142 F 22s that were built before Obama shut the production lines down in 2010. We've got 80 that are operational at any time. We've got the F 35 fleet, which stealth and efficiently disposed could do some damage, but effectively they're not really fighter planes. They're light bombers or attack aircraft. They're not the fastest thing out there. They're not the most maneuverable, and they don't carry the most firepower. You've got an, and they're also still potentially vulnerable to a hack, which the Chinese proved they had. They claimed it was just one ordinary citizen who did it, and that's from 15 years ago. You've got an F-22 fleet that is over there, cut off. You've got the F-35 fleet that at maximum over the last 3 years has had only a 52% readiness factor. In other words, 48% of the aircraft are down and inoperable in any given time. You've got an F-15 fleet that's still an effective fighter when you're not worried about stealth, but there is a high level of metal fatigue in the fleet. You've got the F-15Es and the EXs, which are still good bombardment aircraft where you don't depend upon stealth. You've got F-16s, a bunch of them, but F-16s, F-15s, and the F-18s, FA-18Es, even though they're an enlarged extrapolation, are still fighters from 50 years ago, early 1972. You've got the bones, the B-1 bombers, but most of the people that had contracted to supply the spare parts are no longer out of business. So when something goes down, you have to CNC manufacture the stuff from scratch, which can be done, but it's expensive, and you're running out of the skill sets of people who know how to make these parts or what the specifications are, the quirks are in the plant. The aircraft's got another nasty thing, which is a total loss of hydraulic fluid. They have to put buckets under the wings to catch the draining hydraulic fluid, which they have to keep full of. There are about 40 of those operational. You've got a B-2 bomber fleet, of which there are 19 of the things left out of the 21 total that were built. The B-2 bomber is, if I'm not mistaken, 32 years old. The B-1, the bones are about 40-ish. The major bomb carriers or truck for standoff missiles would be the B-52Hs, of which there are about 40 that are operational, 54, 52 actually, I think. They're going to upgrade them to the J status, which is new engines, some reinforcement to the structures, new avionics, which will be smaller. And the idea is to get air control so they can do their thing. And then they have the B-21s that haven't gone into production yet. And these things are not like B-24s, B-17s, and B-29s where you can set up production lines miles long and turn out a whole bunch of them in a quick amount of time. They
All
take a
right, can
good
we
while
pull it
to
back to
build.
the
Now,
topic?
back to the point. What I'm saying is that will be a tight picture because of the internal lines of communication that the Chinese possess. Next thing, I mentioned it earlier, is 2 years ago, the Defense Department issued several white papers straight out the Pentagon that they could not sustain more than a week's worth of combat in the South China Sea. And one of the big problems would be reinforcing Taiwan, which they don't have enough amphibious transport to do. Next thing is the latest upgrades they've come up with is because of the depletion of our arsenal by donations to Ukraine and now to Israel. We've got about on average 2 days worth of missile and artillery ammunition and such like to fight a large scale non-nuclear war with a peer power like China. So I think the latest estimate is it would take about 5 years worth of concentrated production to build up the level of the stockpiles to what they were 2 to 5 years ago. We are in a bad situation. So whereas we have no new track vehicles, the average M2, M3 Bradley is going on, wow, it's 32 years old, I think, the youngest fully brand new manufactured. The M1 tanks are about 5 years older than that on average, so that's 37 years old. You get over to that's the average age of the B-1 bomber fleet. B-2 bomber fleet, and it's going on 40 for the B-1s.
Can
And
we
the
get off
newest
the B1s?
B-52s are 52, 62 years old. So we've got a big problem with what we're going to do with that. And when you talk about the nuclear carriers, remember we've got 12 nuclear carriers. We're two short. The Jerry Ford, which is the first of the latest class, we've only got one. It's years behind time when it comes to operational capacity because the electronic catapults and other things aren't working as required. We had the Nimitz class, which was in place, and before that, the unique Enterprise, and before that, we were dependent on the Forrestal class, which had
Judge
a
Joe Brown.
fueling retinue following around. Now,
Judge Joe Brown, if
if
I
you
could
only have
suggest,
on average 600-700 miles worth of range you have to deal with,
Can you hear
and
him,
you're not
Judge?
worldwide, yes.
Judge. Can you? He was trying to ask you something. I don't want to talk.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't
I don't
hear
want to
him.
go in details about the military.
No, I'm just saying I was responding directly to his thing about
Right. I mean, his
nukes.
question was very detailed, and it's just like. So let me ask
I
you
was
this
just trying to
question:
analyze it. I'm sorry. Can you try again? I didn't hear you.
What's your follow up? Because I have to
well,
get you other
it's not even
speakers.
a question; it's a statement. But Judge Joe Brown, what I can tell you is take into consideration the fact that we have ready to go right now two unmanned Navy vessels, and what I am able to say is consider that when you talk about the man shortage. Um, but right now,
What does that have to do with China cyber attacks?
well, well, all right. From my perspective, what that has to do with China cyber attacks is that China doesn't want that. China don't want to tangle with us, um, and that's the bottom line. China doesn't want to tangle with us. You know.
All right, you just mute up for a
Yes, sir.
second.
Yes,
Put a
ma'am.
pin in that. I want to move on
Okay,
to
let me ask you a question. If China says, okay, screw it, we're going to invade Taiwan, what choice do we have when it comes to limiting the fracas to conventional weaponry?
You asked me
How
what
do you
choice
deal
do
with
we have?
the interior lines of communications with just a few hundred miles that the Chinese Navy has, and we've got basically 9,000 miles from where they are till you get to Pearl Harbor or to the main naval base. It's a few thousand miles shorter to get to the main base in the Philippines, next main base in the Philippines or in Japan. That's only a few hundred.
Yes.
But
Yes.
what are you going to do with that? And where are we going to sustain what we need to shoot back? We don't have an operative hypersonic missile. Maybe they have one, but they sure haven't shown it. And what do you do about that? We don't really have a defense against a hypersonic cruise missile right now, other than perhaps some laser anti aircraft machinery, which is workable. They have something that could be put in production, and they have three ships with some samples on board. They do have the two vessels that you're talking about that can be operated remotely as drones, so to speak, but
Mhm.
ships get lost.
All right.
Mightiest Navy in the world, United States Navy, lost a bunch of them in World War II, and so did the English at Jutland, for example, Skagerrak,
So basically,
in World War One.
basically our military defenses is very compromised right now, and China is very
Yeah,
advanced.
that's
I
a
want to
good way
go.
of putting it.
Yes, I want to
A
go to
very
the
good way of
Negro.
Thank you
putting
very much,
The
Judge.
Negro.
Great talking with you. Appreciate you.
it. Okay.
The Negro.
All right, thank you. There's some things I just want to let the people know. I think United States Black American people only have one gun manufacturer. Chinese people have eight in the United States soil. They're one of the most highest number when it comes to immigration, when it comes to the United States. So they have a standalone army on our soil. And especially since these people are like with this immigration nonsense and not thoroughly vetting these people, we don't know if there's CCP on the ground in the United States right now. So I don't know what this guy's talking about, but we're in some dire need, especially if we're Black Negro Americans. The other thing that I want to touch upon is Tim Scott is already pushing a bill on the floor to stop them from learning about STEM education because they're weaponizing these educations and getting into these elite schools. I see them all the time, and they're not really friendly to the Negro American community. So that's some of the things I do want to clarify, and it's down in your chat box to prove what I'm talking about. The other thing that I wanted to address was the situation with Howie and how they've been pressing onto the fiber optics and trying to get into the wires and stuff when it comes to the internet. It's going to get to the point if they get access to our grid, they can push lock and shut us down. So we're in a bigger threat than you might think. And then when you have people that are speculating from what they did way back when, it kind of makes us look like a joke. So I just want to highlight those facts, and I have the sources and the articles to support what I'm talking about instead of just talking out my cheeks.
Well, we're not disputing that that may not be the case, but I think that's unnecessary because what kind of cell phone are you on right now?
I'm not even on my cell phone right now, Judge O'Brien. I'm on my tablet.
Well, who makes it?
Oh yeah, they made some parts of it, but I get where you're going
No,
at.
who made it? Apple?
I'm no, I don't mess with Apple.
Okay.
I mess with the other guys.
Yeah, same thing. But they made most of the core of that. Some of it was designed in Japan, and Chinese ramped up the technology. You don't think that when they make this stuff, they don't put back doors in it if they just happen to need it? It's already there. But my point was, is with 80 to 82% of the world's manufacturing capacity, being in the position right now, in actual fact, to stabilize all of the world's currencies, which they do, being in fact in the position and actually utilizing the power they have doing it to stabilize all of the world's stock exchanges so things don't get too far out and cause international depression. As I've
Mhm.
heard it said, why would we destroy what we already own? That's why I made the analogy of it's like training a dog to heel. You put a collar on it, perhaps a choke collar, and you put a nice, short, strong leash, and you tell the dog to heel. And when the dog, of course, isn't going to heel, you pull back and the choke chain chokes the dog, and he backs off to release the pressure. And then once you start training him, you can get rid of the choke collar and just put a regular collar on. But when he gets too frisky, you give it a good yank and say, heel, boy. And
I
after a
think, but I
while,
think
he'll
the
get so he
question, I think,
walks
Oh no, that
without
I,
was
needing
can
a
I
collar.
can I no, but
I
can I speak for
yeah.
myself, Judge? The point that I was getting at is saying that these guys are already on American soil operating. They already have 8 gun manufacturers that they have control where they can make their weapons. We only have access to one. All right. So
But,
therefore, they have an arm. I look at they have a standalone army on American soil that we can't defend ourselves, and they can be on the offense on our soil. That's the game plan that I'm talking about here.
well,
And I
that's what
also
the
have the
Second
articles to
Amendment's
support
for.
what I'm talking about here.
That's what the Second Amendment's for. But we've got a good part of our population that wants to get rid of it and turn it all over to the government, which actually is so well beholden to the Chinese as it is now. See, there are some frightful things out there that our press does not deal with because it is no longer the press that keeps the citizenry well informed. It is an instrument to direct the people for purposes of securing an agenda, which is not a healthy one these days. Now, that's all I'm saying. It's like, if you own it, why wreck it? In other words, I've had a situation. Okay, a situation. Somebody walks in and they're clowning and carrying on, and you're telling them chill, they won't stop clowning, and they are relying on a big income they have. But what they don't realize is you're the major stockholder, or you're the boss of the company that they work for, and you can fire them. But they don't realize they're talking to the big boss because they never thought about what's behind the scenes. Now, there's a guy named Willie Gary that tells a good story about this. Willie Gary, black lawyer, who's got the record for four out of the highest settlements, and four or five out of the largest jury verdicts, including the very largest one in American history. He tells the story of coming into one of his office buildings, the whole thing, in Boca Raton, Florida, and it was a new employee they hired. So he came in his gym clothes, was going to change up in his office, which was the entire top floor. You get off the elevator, you're directly in his office. And he was going up there, and this new employee was getting very rude, wanting to know why he dared to go up to this floor. And this guy called the police on him. Gary, I know him personally. He told him kind of F off. And when the police got there, they said, Mr. Gary, there seems to be a complaint about an intruder here. Somebody called in. He said, yeah, I think that young man over there did. So what it is, they've got this black intruder who came into this company, and he went up and invaded the boss's office. He said, you don't realize that is your boss? Now,
Mm-hmm.
that's what's going on. Somebody, the people are being led to talk about what this guy is doing that's bad, and not realizing he's perhaps the boss, meaning the collective thing.
All right.
So
I
think
want to.
about it, and maybe what is going on is more obvious than it seems, but it's not what is presented.
All right, I want to get to Max, then Shy, and then I want to get to questions from YouTube. And anybody else want to request to come up, please do so. And you can ask about anything. It does not always have to. It does not right now have to be on China cyber attacks or the movie Leave the World Behind. If you have questions or statements about other stuff, you could ask the judge. Go ahead, Max.
Hey, Dana, peace to you, peace to the judge. I
Hi.
just wanted to say a few things about the movie because I did see the movie. Um, I consider myself a prepper, and the reason why I saw it was because my lady was like, "Hey, you need to see this movie." I just watched it by myself, and what happens in the movie is like the guy says a lot of the things that you say. I was like, "All right, let's watch it." A few things that people should take away from that is when you watch it, he talks about how one of the indicators that something's about to go down is people moving their money. Well, I'm not sure if you noticed this, but gold has actually reached an all-time high, and Bitcoin is back up again, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is I just saw something come across my feed that Ukraine was just hacked. Their infrastructure was just hacked. And in that show, there's a guy, I guess it's Kevin Bacon, right? I don't know his name, but he was the prepper. He was the guy that was, you know, stocking up on water, just doing what he regularly does. But he also, he tells everybody like you need to get prepared. And I'm not sure if folks really are aware that the warning signs have been there, right? Not too long ago, they had a nuclear warning video that went viral. It was about like what happened in New York, right? Now, with Leave the World Behind, I feel like that's something that Obama knows. It eats at his soul, and this was just a way that he was like, all right, here's a way that I can really like alert people about what's to come, because that whole movie is really to show you what the new normal would be. And I don't think people are grasping that. I think it's like, and you see it happen in the movie. Everyone, like, I was watching that movie and I was making notes of like, here's when I, have specific triggers that say, hey, Max, you need to start doing this. You need to start doing this. Right. One of the things that I always do is when I sense that the power is going to go out, I make sure my gas tank is filled up. Right. That's one of the biggest things. I recently invested in a solar generator that can power my refrigerator. Um, I really stress to people the importance of, can you get your own food, right? And when I was talking, or when Ronald was talking earlier, and maybe it was Miss D, like, what is your trigger that, hey, things are about to hit the fan? Let's leave the city. Where I live in the Bay Area, in a 30-mile square radius, 7 million people live there. And these are a bunch of softies that will lose their mind, right? And this movie, I truly believe, was put out there as, because there's no beginning or ending to it. It's kind of just like a day in a life type of movie. It's just next thing you know, you're there and you're just kind of watching it. And then how does the movie end? The movie literally ends with a nuclear bomb that went off. Right? Remember, there's a part where the young boy's losing his teeth, and he's like, I need medicine. They need medicine. They thought it was Lyme disease. You know what that was? That was radiation poisoning. Does anybody know what you're supposed to take with after radiation poisoning? Iodine pills, right? Like, you should have a stop. Like, you should go on Amazon right now and buy iodine pills. As soon as there's any type of radiation event, you take two.
Those were the pills that Kevin Bacon gave
Exactly,
him.
but they were trying to make it was
Yeah.
weird that, like, they try to make it seem as though it was Lyme disease, but for me personally, I was like, hold on, that doesn't make sense. Like, it'll take much longer for Lyme disease to kick in, as well as that sound. I was thinking that sound was either hypersonic missiles, right? Russia sends hypersonic missiles, it's going over, hits their ears, and then, obviously radiation poisoning. You should be taking iodine pills. But here's what I'll say, because I am a prepper, right? You should have 160 cans just stocked up. 160 cans. You should at least have enough food and water to get you through 60 to 90 days, right? Then on top of that, you have to have a backup plan of saying, how are you going to get out of the area, right? Do you know where there's public land? Do you know where there's other water sources? Because this is going to happen, right? Like, it's all.
I don't think it's going to happen in America. I don't think
but
it's
but
not
Dana,
in our lifetime.
here's some other things to point out for you.
Like, wait. What's going to
The
happen?
the
Something
power,
like
you should
the.
be prepared to wake up and the power is cut off. You've had white supremacists trying to.
Already happened to us in Texas. Remember,
Wait,
Max, me
stop.
and you talking
Wait,
about this?
stop. Because your audio is off. So yeah, if even if we wake up, there's no power. The power will come back on.
No, but Dana, so you can Google this. White supremacists have already targeted our infrastructure, and they like multiple
White supremacists.
white.
How the hell they going?
They try and shoot at it. Where I live, our substation
Oh.
is right off the water. Is right off the freeway. You could shoot.
They shoot at a power station with a
Yes,
gun. Like, what is that going to do to the
because
power
what it will
station?
do is, those transformers take like a year to 18 months to build, and it will only take eight transformers for our entire grid in the entire United States to go down. And if those transformers are destroyed, all those parts come from.
So you could destroy a transformer with a gun,
Yes. And where do those parts come from? Those parts come.
but can it be repaired?
No,
But can it be
no,
repaired?
no. Those parts come from China. So if you had a transformer in your area and it was destroyed, shot up with a gun, it's going to take a year to 18 months for it to be replaced.
All right. Wait, slow down because those parts come from China.
Exactly.
Okay, no, I'm trying to connect the
Yeah,
dots
yeah.
here.
So what I'm
China cyber
Yeah,
attacks.
so it was like in North Carolina, and then there's one that happened in the Bay Area that people didn't know about, where the white supremacists targeted the substations and like shot them
Wait,
up.
but why do you keep calling them white supremacists?
Because
They don't.
because that's who they are. It's white nationals.
How do you
Because
know?
it's in the article. You can read it. Google it.
So
Oh,
these.
wait. Whoa, hold up. It's in the article.
Yes, you can Google white supremacists targeted the substation.
Okay. Let's say this. For 50 years, I've been dealing with law. Most of it's been trial law, either as a prosecutor, defense counsel, or as a judge presiding. 99 times out of 100, what the press tells you about a situation that comes out at trial is wrong.
No, this isn't trial, guys. This is a fact.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but it's less reliable
No. But
because somebody's under oath and you actually have to produce the original for which you are often allowed to substitute a copy when you want to rely on something. So it's there physically. What is it? If you're quoting something, who wrote it, who published it, when did it come out, what pages are you talking about, what lines on the pages are you referencing? That's how the law works. They never talk about it in the movies. But in other words, who said
wait,
this?
I'm sorry. Wait, no, I'm not talking. Wait,
Yeah,
I'm not
I
talking.
know, but I'm just saying, don't get all bent out of shape about that because I was going to interject one other thing. I'm from the generation where all while second year of the boomers. I was born in 1947. And all while I was in elementary and junior high school, it was all about duck and cover for the assured nuclear war that was going to come between the United States and the Soviet Union. And all of the ridiculous nonsense that came out about what was going to go on, either diminishing the likely severity of it or not even getting a grip on how bad it could actually be, or how likely what you're listening to is a great exaggeration. See, you had General MacArthur. He was talking about let's drop a carpet of nuclear bombs to open this up so we can get into China and conquer them. Well, somebody had to tell him, said, General, with due respect, we know you're the senior general in the United States military, but you can't do that because there's this thing called radiation, huh? Well, we need to nuke them from aircraft. You can't do that because the way the primitive nukes worked were you had to have a specialist on board the aircraft who would monitor all of the transmissions on all of the frequencies and pick one where there was no transmission and turn on the triggering device. And if the transmission just happened to drift over into that frequency, boom, you got a blown up B 29. And you see, a lot of the people that were experts didn't have this kind of information because their knowledge was incomplete and it was a subject that was being fluid. So
So let
don't
me
get caught up in just because you
Wait,
read it
can
in
I just
something.
can I
It's like
land
But
real?
let me one
reality.
second, Max. One sec. I'm gonna come to you in 1 second, Max, because I pulled up. It's an article and it came out this year, in March, and it says as the FBI offered up $50,000 in new rewards for information on those responsible for sabotaging three North Carolina power plants in December and January, the shelf in the county. The sheriff in the county where two of the shooting attacks occurred accused the local utility company of stonewalling investigators. But I'm going through it and it doesn't say anything about white supremacists or white nationalists. I'm just stuck on the description that you give in the shooters. Like, why are you giving them that description? Because the news outlet is saying white nationalists. Like, what is why would a white nationalist shoot up
Which news outlet are you reading?
ABC News?
Yeah, so I mean, I when I have time, I can gladly go find the sources. But again, if we're
No, I mean,
talking
I
about
think my question is why are they described like them being a white
because
nationalist
well,
means what?
white supremacists, people that hate black people and want to bring down
But
the
what?
government,
But
right?
they
Right. So
wait. But attacking the utilities has nothing to do with black people.
well,
Yes, there is.
let me
Oh, wait, wait.
can I
There's an
land? Can I
example.
get my can I get
Wait,
it out?
the
Right.
Negro. Wait, let Max go. Let him talk.
So where I'm at with this is it doesn't matter if it's white supremacist or not. People have it like here in the Bay Area, in North Carolina, across have attacked our infrastructure, right? As well as it is documented that the white supremacist goal is to attack our is to attack the infrastructure. When I have time, I can go find the sources. I'm not
Why
really
white? Okay, why do quote unquote white supremacists want to
because they
attack the
want
United
to
States
institute
infrastructure?
a race war, and they believe
How
that
is that? Okay, wait, slow down. How is that? How is that instituting a race war if
be
you are attacking the
because the
utilities?
same thing that happens in the movie because they understand that if you cut the power out In the United States, if you wake up or right now, if the power goes out, it's gonna sow chaos,
Right.
right?
So this is where I'm coming from, Max, because the whatever media outlet you that used the word white nationalists or white supremacists or whatever, describing them, that was propaganda because
It
that wait,
wasn't.
let me finish. Let
It's
me
not.
finish.
I have.
Let
Oh my
me
god.
finish. I'm not saying it did not happen. I'm saying the news outlet that are saying that the people that did it were racist white nationalists. Well, why are you describing them as racist white nationalists? And you're trying to explain this is the reason why, because they want to cause a race war if the
Yeah,
power go out.
yes, because
I need you to let me finish. I just said let me finish, and then I'm gonna let you reply. Let me finish. Stop cutting me off. So if the point is when you call someone a white nationalist, that is not directly harming black people, but the theory is a white nationalist want to turn off the power so it could be a race war between white and black, i.e. going to this movie because the Obamas wanted to insert the black feminist woke daughter with a nasty attitude that don't shave her underarm, saying that don't trust white people. And what I'm telling you is that aspect of it is bullshit. Is it true?
Dana, you gotta let me finish.
Didn't I just say let me
Hold,
finish?
hold on.
Wait,
Let me
I want
moderate
to
this.
finish.
Let me
I want to finish
moderate
my
this. I'm
point.
not
No,
gonna make
I
a
want to finish
comment.
my
I'm just
point. I want to
moderating.
finish my point. I want to finish
Okay,
my fucking point
go
without being
ahead. I'm trying to
interrupted.
help you out
No,
here.
I don't need you to help me. I just need Max to stop interrupting me.
Okay,
So the
go
point
on.
that I'm getting to, because I saw the movie, which everybody is missing because everybody want to get caught up in this race shit, is really classism, the haves and the have not. Because Max, you just said you were doomsday prepared. When 95% of people in
I'm
this
reading an
space right
article
now,
right now that says
stop
white
interrupting me,
supremacists
Max.
attack the
Hold on,
power.
I'm
both
trying
of
to
you, one at a time.
why the fuck is he keep interrupting me? I just
One
want to
at a
put the mute
time.
button.
Dana, you have
No,
the
I
floor.
already
Go ahead.
muted everyone. I don't need you to moderate. I muted people. That's
Go
fine.
ahead.
I already muted people. So the point I'm making here, Max, 99% of everybody in this space is not prepared like you are for doomsday. And that includes white or black. It's not a race. It's the haves or the have nots. Are you prepared or are you not prepared? Do you have money? Are you the wealthy to where you may get a heads up, like they indicated in that movie, that you could take your ass to another country, or you have a luxury doomsday bunker to bunker down in while everything's going up and we're all, shit out of luck. So stop thinking that everything is about a race war, and you have to look at it as a class war. And I'm sorry, it took me long to get my fucking point out because you want to interject, and I'm gonna give you the last word.
Okay.
No,
Everybody,
I want him to
just chill a
reply.
little
I
bit.
want him to reply.
Can I finish? You didn't let me finish my
No,
point.
I was gonna let
You
you finish when I
okay?
finished speaking.
Okay.
So right. Wait. So please let me finish. Right.
I'm gonna let you talk.
Okay. So the article, since I looked it up, February 6th, 2023, 2:54 p.m. 8-minute read. Suspected white supremacists arrested in plot to attack power station destroys Baltimore. Prosecutors. Two arrested for plotting attack on Baltimore plant. Oh, yada yada yada. It goes on and explains how this was race motivated, but that's besides the
You
point.
believe that
That
it's race motivated because the
that's
newspaper said it was. And what
let
I'm
me
trying to
finish.
tell you
I can't
is
even
to
Okay,
go.
explain.
Dana,
I'm
hold
trying to
on.
tell. No,
Hold
no,
on.
no.
Dana,
Stop, Judge. Stop. I'm gonna come to you in a minute. Just
I
stop.
don't want to say anything. I'm just saying
Yeah,
follow
I
your
don't need
own
you to
rules.
moderate. I don't need. I got the mute button. I got the mute button.
Well,
Because
follow your own
what I'm
rules.
trying to say to Max is the article said it was race related. I'm telling you, stop believing everything you read and go behind that. That's what I'm saying. So if you want to believe the article that was race
I am
related, go
behind.
ahead. Because now I'm asking you to explain to me
Dana,
what is
you,
the benefit of it
I'm
being
trying to
race
explain.
related.
I'm trying to explain it to you. So I have gone behind it, and before you interrupted me, I was giving you tips on how to
Okay, just
survive.
make your point.
So
Make your
so so
point so
so
she doesn't get
so
to cut
so
off again.
so
Just make your point.
I was giving tips because I am prepared. The power could go off right now, and I'm good, 100%. I'm good through and through. Weapons, water, food. I can hunt. I just hit the fucking target at 80 yards with my
What
big
does
curve bow.
Okay,
So Dana,
okay,
explain to
okay,
Dana,
me?
okay.
so
Explain
Dana,
to me.
so
Stop, Judge. I need you to just stop, please stop. Let this be between me and Max right now.
I'm
I
trying to
want
make it
you,
that way.
Max. I'm asking you a simple question. I'm asking you, explain to me why you think that a white supremacist wanted to destroy the utility plant to cause a race riot. That's it.
So my answer to why I believe that, as well as earlier why I was interrupted. I was giving you tips, by the way. I was running it down. I was
Answer,
giving you
Max.
tips.
I will drop your
And
ass
the
if you
answer
can't
is,
Oh,
answer the question.
wait,
Stop.
The answer is,
Hold
Stop,
up. You
Judge.
said
Dana,
Stop.
to the
Just stop.
point.
Let him talk.
Dana,
Let him
Point.
Dana,
talk.
Dana. The answer is, it's because they've said it. They have said it.
Okay.
It's well
All right. That's
documented.
Okay,
fine. And
okay,
I
Well
accept
documented.
that.
okay, okay.
Max,
Hold
I
on,
accept.
hold
Wait,
on,
Judge, I'm
hold
not
on.
finished yet. Stop, Judge.
Hold
Stop.
on, one
I'm
at a
not
time.
finished. I'm not finished. Stop. I
Okay,
told you I know what I'm doing. Just let me and him go back and forth.
that's
Just
what
let
I'm
that
trying to do.
happen. No, I don't need you to try and let me. I'm going to do it. Just stop interrupting me. Max. And I'm not trying to interrupt you, Max, but when I'm talking, I don't need a peanut gallery of people to come in to make a comment. I'm gonna let you have the last word. So I totally disagree with you that you believe what that newspaper said. That's what I'm just getting at. I believe that this happened, but for the purpose of a newspaper saying it was a white supremacist start a race war, that I don't believe.
All right, so I'm gonna land with this. I came up here to talk about the movie, to give you tips, to give you ideas, to prepare. So my conscience, there's people that know I'm in the back channel, right?
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't matter if it's about the white supremacists or not. What matters is if you got someone's time to
But you
ramble.
brought it up.
I was trying to tell you what people should be doing if you live in the city. What you could do. Literally, you can drop me off in the middle of fucking nowhere, and I'm going to survive. Right? And I want to pass those tips on to other people because you have a movie that comes out that literally was saying everything I was saying. I was telling. I've been
Do you have a
telling you
bunker?
since. I don't need a bunker. You don't need a bunker. If you live in the, I'm the kind of person. If you live in the city, I live in a 30-mile radius, 7 million people. Right. So my plan can't be to stay in a bunker because there's 7 million people, like most people. Right. You have to. It's very, very easy to have a plan of what you're going to do in this situation, which is what I was trying to explain earlier, right? It doesn't, no one should be getting hung up on the white supremacist or this or that. It should be strategy right now. It should be playing. You should be picking people's like my mind. You should be when you have my time. You should be asking me, what do I do? What do I do?
So then
What should I
why did you
do?
bring up white supremacists? You said it was a race war.
Because what I read and what I know is that white supremacists, China, Russia's documented they're in our infrastructure. So that's three different people that are trying to attack us, right?
But you
So
said
I'm trying to
the
say,
back
so
and forth that me and you were having, you said that that particular site in North Carolina was attacked by a white supremacist
I
because
was
he
just
wanted to
saying
start a race war.
Dana, I was saying in general, white supremacists want to start a race war by cutting off the power. It doesn't matter
Okay.
where it's happening
So
across
okay,
the
so
United
let
States.
me for a better understanding. White supremacists want to cut off the power in the United States to start a race war. China wants to cut off the power so that they could conquer United States.
Exactly.
Okay, so we got two enemies: one within the
No,
white supremacists, and Russia, and North
Russia,
Korea, and China. I get it. So we have four enemies going on. One is within
and
this country. Okay.
Hamas as well, and
Really? Okay.
any other terrorist organization
Oh,
that
I
wants to
guess
do harm
yeah,
to us.
probably Hamas came up to the border because Biden have open borders. Okay.
They have caught known terrorists at the border already.
I'm pretty sure they have. I'm not saying
Okay,
that they didn't.
wait. Stop
So, all
one
right,
second.
stay right there, Max. The judge is going to speak. Then I'm going to go to
I
Shop,
just say
Black
one at a
Liberation,
time.
and
I'm
Love I
curious,
Am.
Sir Max.
Wait, can I, 1 second. After you speak, Judge, I want to go to Shop, Black Liberation, Love I Am, Smooth,
Okay.
and Boss. Go ahead.
All right, now, Sir Max, let's assume that your premise is correct, that some white supremacists want to start a race war. Precisely or approximately, how would knocking the power grid out for an extended time cause a race war?
Easily, the same thing that happened in the movie. People are going to turn on each other. The first thing, because they're
Why
going
would
to
they base it on race?
because race tensions are already high. That's the
They
easiest.
are. I'd
Yes,
say
absolutely.
that in my lifetime, they're at an all-time low.
I mean, I would disagree with that. I think I see a lots of examples that show that there are folks that are ready to draw the line. I think I see on a daily basis. I see random guys like, walking around with American flags with ski mask on. So, there's quite a few people out there that are gun toting that are ready to use it. They got night ops. They got all this stuff. But here's my
Well,
thing. But here's my
you should
thing.
have seen how it used to be.
I mean, yeah, I'm thankful that I haven't, and I'm grateful for
I
my
have.
ancestors that fought the good fight. But
So
for like, but I honestly think we got 3 to 6 months before the power gets cut
now
off. So
the
what?
power
So
grid around in Memphis over this last 11-month period has been down at least 6 times for from 20 hours to several days through most of the city. Memphis Light, Gas, and Water is decrepit, broken down, the infrastructure is decayed. There was no particular social unrest that came out of that extended period of time, both in the summer and in the previous winter, uh, from that. But I'm still curious as to how white supremacy is going to generate a race war by cutting out the power. Are the black folk going to rise and start shooting people to take needed resources like they have these break ins in the mall all the time? Is that what
well,
you're talking about?
well, where I'm at is that I'm not going to stick around to find out because I've got specific measures in place that when specific things happen, I'm dipping. so
No,
while
that's not
so
what I'm
so
talking about.
I
I'm
know
not
I know, but
talking
Judge,
about what you're going to do or
I,
what's advisable. What
but
do
Judge,
the white supremacists anticipate as being the mechanism of this race war starting?
I
Are
think
black people going to go do what they do with the malls, but just go out into the other parts of the city and start taking resources from people? Or is it going to be the white people that go out and take them from the black folk? If that's the case, what do black folk have that white folk
I,
want that they don't already
well,
have?
well, Judge, again, that goes back to what I was initially getting to earlier. I have specific measures in place that when specific things happen, like I'm acting on those measures. So I'm not going to answer a question if my game plan is more focused on I don't know that shit's going to go down. Like asking me that question and saying like you guys are going to be sticking around to find out what goes on. Like that's your plan. Your plan is that when the power goes off, you want to find out if people are white supremacists or not
No, why did you bring it up then if it doesn't matter?
because white supremacists want to turn off the power.
Okay, I'm telling you, they
Okay,
weren't white
why would they
supremacists.
want to turn off the power? Answer,
Because
they
they've
want to
said it.
generate a
They have
race
said
war.
it. They have
Well,
said it.
okay, why would
No,
that
he
be a
said the
viable
newspaper outlet
proposition?
said it.
No, they have. Literally, white supremacists have talked about cutting off the power to institute a race war. It's literally what they always
Yeah, well,
talk about.
I got that. We get that.
Wait,
But
so when there's a
how is that
but when there's a
supposed to lead to a
manifesto,
race war? That's the intriguing
yes,
part
but
of this
but when
assumption.
there's a manifesto from a serial killer, he's literally
Okay,
saying
I
he
got
wants to
that.
start a
But
race war.
what is the mechanism? In other words, if I do this, then what's going to follow is if I do A, what's going to follow is B. Okay, if you do A, cut off the power, how do you get from A to B?
But Judge, that's what I'm saying. If you're thinking about sticking around when the power's cut off instead of spending time thinking the
No,
power just cut off,
that's not what Dana is asking you here.
she's asking me how I think that there's white supremacists. And again, my answer
No,
is,
no, 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 no. That's not really what she's asking you. The
what is she
issue
asking?
before the court is, all right, sir, you said that white supremacists want to generate a race war. Okay. Questions that arise is why would they want to generate a race war so they can exterminate blacks as the final
No,
solution?
so they can take America back.
Okay, so, well, okay, get rid of the black folk.
Or yeah, or and take America back in the process.
All
And
right.
and and then
Now,
but
how
this goes
does that generate a race war?
But
That's
Judge,
the question.
this also goes back to the movie. They literally say the third
I
thing
don't
that
buy
happens.
anything in Hollywood.
Why
I
is
worked
this
with
being
Indians for
overcomplicated?
15
The black
years.
people are going to be vulnerable because they're ill prepared. That's the answer.
Can
So
everybody
if
please stay on their
okay,
mic?
well,
Because
let
we
me
want to
ask
finish
you
up with
this.
Max, and I'm gonna
That's
get to
where I was
everybody.
getting. That's
Hmm.
part of your premises. Black people will be ill prepared and they will be vulnerable. But if
It,
they're ill prepared to resist the consequences of a power blackout, they're also powerless to do anything about it.
but Judge,
And
but
Wait,
Judge,
wait,
why
which
would
goes
you
to my
have to
point,
even worry
Judge.
about it anyway?
Isn't it?
but
And that goes to my point. 1 second, Max. That goes to my point where you're gonna have the haves and the have-nots.
no, Dana, because I hunt with a
I'm not
recurve bow.
talking about you.
It's
You
but I'm
have.
trying.
But Max, you
But
have.
I'm
I
trying to
don't
instruct.
have.
I'm trying to
So
teach.
it's the haves and the
But I'm trying to
have-nots. If
teach.
you're
I'm trying to give.
prepared,
But I'm
if
trying
you're
to give.
prepared, all right.
But I'm
I
trying.
gotta Max. I gotta move on
I know,
to.
real quick.
I gotta
But
move on
Dana.
to other speakers because you
But,
keep moving the goalposts.
but Dana, again. So I'm gonna land here, right? If any of you are concerned about how to survive, I will gladly be holding spaces and talking it
Then
through.
just
I'm
say
not.
that from the beginning. Leave white
I
supremacists out of it because that's going to take you
Dana.
off your focus.
Dana, I've been focused the entire time. You keep talking
No,
about the white supremacists.
you brought up race war, and I wanted to dissect that. And if
Dana,
that has nothing to do with
Dana,
preparing for doomsday, so then why
Dana,
bring that up in your
Dana,
comment?
I think in the next 3 to 6 months, the power is going to be cut off, and I think
Okay,
our time, I think our time should
I
be
don't.
spent
I don't.
educating folks on how to get prepared for that.
Right?
That's
No,
what
no,
I'm
no,
spending
no.
my time on.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not knocking you for that, and I think that's a great idea. And you should put your information in the chat on the jumbotron so people can follow you. I don't have a problem with that. I believe when the power go out, because it went out a couple of months here where I'm at, and it came back on because it was a hurricane. It was Mother Nature, and Mother Nature will outlive all of us. All right, I want to go to Shy
All right,
Black
thanks for letting me speak.
Liberation.
I'll drop down. I'll drop down.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to go to Shy Black Liberation, Love I Am, and I'm gonna do those, and then I gotta go to YouTube, and then Smooth Boss, Dion John, Immortal, Two Rots. Oh, yeah. All right, go ahead,
All
Shy.
right, thank you. Greetings, everyone. Honorable Brown, Judge Brown. I just want to say I think we should really pay attention to how we can be influenced by not only the information coming through the internet, but specifically like groups or companies like Cambridge Analytica. Now, I just learned about recently about what happened in Trinidad, where uh, the Indian population hired Cambridge Analytica to help them win the election, and it basically just got the young black people to not vote. It influenced them in a way in which they, you know, thought they decided they didn't want to vote, or however that worked. So we saw how that played out with regards to the Russia propaganda here in the United States. So imagine that type of thing happening to influence a population. Uh, it could be a private company like that. I see the division in these Black Twitter spaces. I think that is partially has to do with us, but it's I think there's some influence on the outside that is creating division amongst us as a people to keep us in disarray, keep us in chaos, and as well. I want to bring up what is the other point? Cambridge Analytica. Oh, 1999. We're approaching year 2000. Remember that, folks? When they were saying all hell's gonna break loose. Prince, we're gonna party like it's 1999. People scared. Even I was wondering what was gonna happen once 2000 came because what? That was information. That was think about that. How we were all like scared. What is gonna happen? That kind of thing. We've got to get more educated or wiser or something with regards to events like that. This Hollywood movie coming out at the same time when this other event is made present in the news. What's the timing in that? That's interesting. So again, we've got to think, overstand it or look back up and zoom out and look at this like, okay, wait a minute, this is happening at that time. The movie comes out, and then that is said in the news. So all of these things are external forces that are keeping us off balance, keeping us. What's that all about, right? What does that do to the population? And that's something we need to really think about. And
May I make an observation here, just a brief one? World is getting more complicated and the people are getting more ignorant, not just about the complexities of the current world, but about basic things that other folk have always been aware of. A lot of the problems that I hear on Twitter, X, would not be there nor anywhere else if the young adults or the middle aged adults involved with those questions and those frights that they have, if they had sat down at the kitchen table between kindergarten and 12th grade and applied themselves to their books, it might not happen for the next adult generation if the current brand of parents, uh, group of parents, sit their children down at the kitchen table and get them to study. Y2K fright was absolutely absurd and ridiculous, just like the one was about the world would end in 2012 because the ancient Maya calendar didn't go any further. Actually, they did. It's just nobody wanted to publish the ones that went further. In fact, 600 years ago, nobody was interested in going much further forward than 2012. But the world went on. It was specious. We get all of these frights based on our ignorance. And the ignorance is easily enough banished by simply putting the application into improving your mind and acquiring data, information, and knowledge, and in the process acquiring wisdom, discernment, and analytical skills and critical thinking, as it is to pay attention to what's going on with a popular TV show, memorizing a hip hop song, or keeping up with the latest sports. So we choose to entertain ourselves instead of enlightening ourselves. In 2040 some years ago, Julius Caesar said, if you give the mob, the masses of people, entertainments and feed them, they won't give a damn what their betters do to run them. And that's basically the way of it is, way of the world. Most people are not fit to lead. Few enough are fit to follow, and most of them are just sort of a herd that follows along, nose up the ass of the sheep in front of them, and somebody out front leads the herd. So take
Hmm.
your initiative book. Don't just go for it because it's in print. That's an old one. It is written, therefore it is. Well, that was back way back when people were just understanding the concept of literacy. That's not the reality. There are a lot of opinions. The more you read, the more opinions you get exposed to, the more you get the opportunity to analyze the opinions and see what happened with them, the more you get into the habit of studying, and the more able you are to reach your own valid opinions that could stand the test of empirical experiment. In other words, what's your point? Make it. Does it stand up in reality? I
Mm,
pass the mic.
yeah, thank you for that. Anything else, Shy? I want to move on to Black Liberation, then Love I Am.
that was it. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Black Liberation, and let me just reset the room. If someone is, if when it's your turn to speak, you speak, and you will not be interrupted. If I speak, don't interrupt me. I give all the speakers the last word. Thank you. Black Liberation.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So I watched the movie, and a couple of things stood out to me in the movie. It was more so the story, right, that was being shared about, when the boat came along and you prayed, and God responded, "Hey, I sent you this time, I sent you this time, but you didn't listen." Um, and another thing that stood out to me is a few points that I've got. I'll post everything in the chat as well, just so you can read it for yourself. But one of the things that he was talking about in the movie was watching the markets, not necessarily watching the money, right? Watching the markets. Um, and if you look, Michael McCall, who's House representative from Texas, he just recently sold all of his stock in the cybersecurity stock. In addition to that, he was one of the main proponents that brought the Department of Homeland Security to conduct cybersecurity activities for the federal government. Um, in addition to that, if you look around the world and just see how different things are playing out, right? Um, we have an embargo against Cuba, right? Well, Cuba has sent more oil than they've ever sent in its entire history to Cuba, along with a warship,
Wait,
which
I'm
is
sorry.
kind of
Wait, repeat what you said. You said Cuba sent oil, or did somebody
no, no,
else
no.
send
I'm
Cuba
sorry.
oil?
I apologize. Russia sent Cuba oil, more oil than they've ever sent, and they've also sent a warship. There's other things as well, right? Where you have Russia that's offering free grain to all of these African countries, right? Um, if they pledge their allegiance and come into trade agreements and um, governmental agreements, economical agreements. But then, in addition to that, if you look at the World Economic Forum, and this was recent, I want to say October of this year, they are highlighting that there's a possible cybersecurity attack to come within the next few years, 2 years to be exact. So these things are happening, right? We've seen that if you have the opportunity, look up Stuxnet, right? Stuxnet pretty much penetrated every single computer across the globe, right? There's the other ones, right? I think they mentioned the love bug in the movie, right? It wasn't nothing but an email. But then when you have Stuxnet, which was developed by the United States to shut down Israeli power plants, right? This is a fact, right? How did it end up getting into our own computers and being reverse engineered against us? And the thing is, these things are inside of our computers already. It's something that the government knows. It's inside a SIPRNet, right? Which is our secret platforms. And we believe that at any time a button could be pressed, but we don't know what that button is going to do. This is governmental fact. So I encourage everybody to look it up, and be privy to the information that's put in front of you, and definitely like sit down and take a look and say, okay, is this true or is this false? Right? But it is a threat. Cybersecurity is a threat.
Thank
That's
you.
all.
Appreciate it. Did you want to say something, Judge, to that? Or I'm gonna just move on to Love I Am.
All I would say is this: anytime you have a communications setup where it is dependent upon an intermediary situation beyond you telling your message directly to the recipient face to face, there's always the danger of interception, miscommunication, or the deflection of the message so it does not arrive. That's human nature. That's called intelligence in the spy world. Everybody engages in intelligence to find out what the other side is up to. And if the other side has a good idea, copy it as fast as you can so they don't get an unfair advantage. Now, a lot of folk on X who are too woke don't want to hear anything if it doesn't come from a certain familiar approved source. And that just cuts them off from a lot of information. That's why we have had KGB and CIA and Stava and all kinds of other things in order to find out what the enemy was up to. So
Okay. All right,
let's
I want to go
talk
to
about
Love
what
I
we're
Am.
talking about. Why go backwards, or how can we go backwards?
All right, Love I Am.
Um, so I haven't been in this conversation long enough to understand where exactly, like, the confines of the conversation, like how far you guys have gone out. But when I saw this title appear, I did think that it was interesting because when I watched the film, I didn't necessarily believe that it was China definitively, that we could definitively say China What I felt was the purpose of the film was that no one would be able to really ascertain who it was that was attacking the US, or that would be China, Russia. But that bit of confusion there would actually lead to or contribute to the chaos in the nation, was that they simply didn't know. Like if it was China, Russia, um, whatever. But then I just came up because that point in the movie when she says that comment about white and black people, that was one of the most relatable parts in the movie that I like that I felt. Um because there was a lot of stuff that didn't make sense to me. I think that when it comes down to scarcity and lack of resources, I think that things will become extremely racialized. I actually when I couldn't figure out where the film was going, I actually thought that there was going to be some type of conflict between them based on race. And at one point, because a lot of the movie had a lot of imagery, and at one point they had what they had in the TV was a split screen, and the white people were inside the home, and then there were two black people outside the home. But I felt like that was very intentional that they had it that split screen like that. So they were inside the home, and then the two black people were standing outside the door, but the screen was split right down the middle. But when you looked at how the house was set up, they wouldn't have been able to catch that angle. That angle was something that was intentionally put for the film. And so there was a lot of that going on. But when she made that comment, that was like the most realist, relatable. I was already thinking that type of moments that there were. I'm like, why would he I mean, why is he interacting like the way that the dad was interacting was not realistic to me, and I don't think that I do think that the power is going to be cut out within the next, I'll say, 6 to 8 months. Because I know that there's like grace that's spiritual where people literally would not be prepared in 3 months. But I am someone who has food storage and things like that in my home as well. But I literally was considering where I live at and white people. Like I literally, that's something that is a consideration for me in my planning for doomsday. I don't think that I think that there's just going to be a lot of racial tensions, and there's a distrust that has never been fixed. But that has nothing to do with what you were, I don't know if that's where you guys were going with the
No,
conversation.
no, no. Well, as far as Max, he was saying he's a preparer, but when it got into race, he was talking about an actual attack on a utility plant, I believe in North Carolina, that he read in an article saying that the person who did it was a white nationalist. So I'm like, well, what
Right.
was the purpose? Him being a white nationalist to start a race war for what purpose? Because to me, even watching that movie, and just say we have to deal with that in real life, it's going to be the haves and the have nots. Are you prepared or are you not? Are you the elite that you get a heads up? Do you have a upscale doomsday shelter like we saw in the movie? But to your point, yeah, that screen, right? That screenshot of the white couple on one side and a black on another, and you could kind of see the confusion from the white couple. Oh, this is your house, or you're the owner. And I get it, which is why the Obamas intentionally put that in there, right? Because when you talk about race, it does engage certain people, and I would say black people a little bit more than others. But when you put a race component, particularly in this movie, it is going to heighten people's senses, black people. And so that was them intentionally doing something. You have a mixed half white half black man who is demonic, and a alleged transgender wife. So everything that they do with their movie production, it is all about an agenda, because I've never heard of a goddamn former president getting into Hollywood. That is for a reason, to spew propaganda. Because that last scene with the lily white girl eating all the junk food, goes downstairs, she discovers the luxury doomsday with the computers, with the television, and a whole bookshelf of videos that she could watch Friends, and she puts it in and she smiles while she watching it. Well, what the fuck was that? So again, it was and it's actually based on a book, but of course the Obamas probably inserted the line with the black girl who had an attitude and didn't shave her damn underarms. Because I had an issue with her having a black attitude. So a lot, they know what they're doing, and I believe they put stuff in there to trigger people. But go ahead, love. I don't know, you want to say something, Josh. I want to go back to Love I Am.
Okay, if I might offer this observation, and I did it the year before he got elected, and said Obama is a Hollywood creation. They found themselves a convenient chick flick matinee star. It's bullshit. He's fronting off because he's part of that same family that produced Bush, and Cheney. And you're just getting Bush, Cheney, and B 2.0. So it's only fitting, but I think they've got another purpose. And I have a sneaking suspicion from what I'm hearing, it's tied in with an ecological thing where there's going to be this horrible situation that develops and people will be without. Now, what happens when you get this power shortage? I live in Memphis, Tennessee. We've had at least a month in total where the power has been out in this city. It was out in my house for 28 hours one time, 3 weeks later for 16 hours at one time. Meanwhile, one part of the city, when it was out for 16 hours, had their power out for 6 days. One time, parts of the city, big, about a quarter of the city, went without water for 9 days. And you kind of got the feel for what it was like not having utilities, water, gas, electricity, but nobody was going out committing insurrection and having a race war. There wasn't even a ramp up in the stupid break ins we're getting right now, where gangs of young thugs are going out. 35 and 40 of them are breaking the plate glass in boutiques and sporting goods shops and stealing all they can carry away. But
Um,
yeah, that I think is more of this disaster thing, like the end of days, Y2K, 2012,
Actually, I want to say this, and
all
I want
that.
to go to Love I Am, give her the last word. Um, it is going to be a power outage. It's not going to be in 3 months. I'm gonna give you the exact date. It's going to be November 7th, 2024. Matter of fact, it's going to be November 6th, 2024, and it may last 2 weeks, because that's going to get people in a hysteria. And I'll go look up November 7th, 2024. That's when we're gonna have a power outage. So, but go ahead, Love I Am.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that. So for the entire movie, I was highly critical of how individuals were orienting themselves. So when that daughter says to her dad, um, we need to be careful about how we're moving around white people. That was the most relatable part of the film, because that was my organic consciousness. It's not that them putting something in there. I When I found out Barack Obama and Michelle were responsible for the production, I actually was surprised that they were able to add that element, that nuance, because what we find is that when individuals who have no connectedness to our communities produce films, they're usually void of anything that's reflective of a black person's consciousness. And so I
Great
actually was
point.
surprised.
That's a great point, and I didn't think of that till just now. So I appreciate you for saying that. Go ahead.
So I genuinely was like, oh, because to be honest, I was wondering why he was maneuvering so comfortably around them. I'm telling you, I have a food supply right now. And when I go to think about, I have food and weapons. So when I go to think about where I want to be at, I don't want to be around a lot of white people. If something were to break off, I don't feel safe around white people. I don't feel like they would have my best interest or the best interest of my children. And when I'm thinking about, even when we're talking about having like black self-sustained towns, I cannot figure out, I'm still confounded on whether it would be safer for black people to move to one single geographical location and have a self-sustained town that way, or with us being uh like distributed all throughout the nation, that also seems unsafe because we will be soft targets. So I am even torn on where would be the safest place for black people to be at, because if we're in one single location, then they can just bomb our towns and communities as they've done historically, which that suggests that that is actually the greatest threat to their infrastructure and their economy. But it says that they will stop at nothing to destroy it. But then having us dispersed all throughout the nation, how we are, that creates, especially because I'm a black woman that I'm considering this, I don't feel safe around white people. So even when I was thinking about where I would want to be at, if something were to happen, I concluded prior to the existence of this film that it would not be around white people. And that's why I didn't understand why that black man was interacting with them like it's just all safe like that. Like I just didn't understand that. I didn't relate to that. So when
Well,
that was put
oh,
in
okay. I'm
there,
sorry. Mhm.
I'm sorry. Thanks, Dana, for the space. I was just gonna say. So
No, no, no.
when that was put in there, it added
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
balance.
No,
When
I
it was
wanted.
when
I'm
that was
sorry.
put
No,
in
I
there,
think
it
we're.
added balance
I'm
for me.
sorry. It's no. I'm hearing some static or whatever, and X need to work on that. No, I just wanted to say to your point with the black guy, I understood why he felt comfortable. And you have to look at, first of all, he was a wealthy black man. His clients are the one percenters of the world. He knows how they move. He knows how they think because he interacts with them all the time, 24/7. He's in that circle because he knew kind of what was going on. He just didn't know what his other friend knew because his other friend was really is in the circle. That was just his client. So that's why he felt comfortable and he had his gun in the house. See, the daughter, she is the woke BLM feminist. And because he sent her to the Columbias and the Ivy League or whatever. When she didn't, I called her a feminist when I saw her underarms wasn't shaved. I almost fell out. But anyway, but I love her natural hair. But he had a gun. He knows how everybody, not just white people, how everyone thinks or operates like different cultures. So I understand. I didn't have a problem with his behavior because I understood his behavior. I understood her behavior. And I understood the white people behavior. It's just that for me, if I was in that predicament, I'm not thinking about I'm scared of white people. I want to be around black people. No, I want to be where I know my family is protected first. I don't trust nobody. I don't care what color or gender you are. So that's for me first. I don't and no, I would not want to live in a state solely with not but black people. I don't have much faith in us right now to do that, but that's just me. Go ahead, love I am, and then I'm gonna go to Smooth Boss, Dion, John, and the everybody else.
Okay, so all I want to say is the reason why that comment added balance, she didn't even necessarily register as like a woke black person to me. But what registered to me is that I felt like her dad was just fundamentally miscalculating white people. So I think what happens is that when black people get around white people and they've been let in, well, they feel like they've been let into places, they get too comfortable and they kind of miscalculate and underestimate. And so that's how I was viewing it. It's not that I'm afraid of white people. I actually feel that I understand that there's something in their nature that is not going to concern themselves with my safety or the safety of my children. And very ironically, there was a line in the movie when they were talking about they said when the white woman gave her cynical perspective on humanity. She said that everyone is always self-interested in doing things for self, but when up until that point, the black people were the only people that had moved in a way that wasn't self-interested. And I literally felt like that was one of the shortcomings of black people, is that I'm gonna find a scene and I'll get the quote and I'll put it in here. But
Another great point.
she
And
literally at that point, just let me.
yeah, go
Sorry,
ahead. Sorry.
at that point in the film, when she made that comment, I'm gonna find out exactly what she said. She gave a cynical perspective on humanity, and she was talking about how people are selfish and things like that. But up until that point, I feel like the only people that hadn't been selfish were the two black people in the film. And I feel like that is where we fall short at, because other groups are going to be willing to be selfish, and then we still think that we can maneuver thinking that we have comfort amongst people that we don't.
Right. That's a great point, and that you picked up, because I forgot about that too. And you know what I thought of, and Judge, I want to bring you in on this one, and then I want to go to the next. I want to go to Smooth. Is black people going back to? I'm going back to the slave plantation. Right. We moving in a way of let's help everyone instead of thinking of ourselves first. And that's definitely how the father was moving. To whereas the white woman, she was like, I'm thinking of my family first. Now the husband, he was just going with the flow. He was like, well, what's wrong with it? But yeah, I totally get it. Thank you for that. Judge, are you still there? Because you're muted.
Okay,
I'm here.
Okay. Did you want to comment on that last part she said? Because then I'm gonna go to Smooth.
it's Hollywood, and you might want to ask what it's going to do with the move to be more concerned about the environment. There's a stand-in for that.
Hmm,
People
okay.
going without the power. There are going to be power shortages. We have very stupidly and ignorantly allowed our power net to deteriorate over the last 30, 35 years. In most places, it's entirely too decrepit for good urban health, but we spend too much money on social programs and other things that ought to be spent on infrastructure. So
Yeah.
we asked for it, we got what we asked for.
I want to go to Smooth, then Boss, then Dion, then John, and then I'm gonna get to everyone else. Go ahead. Smooth.
Okay. First I want to say, I didn't see the movie. I will be checking it out tonight, but I'm getting bits and pieces from everybody, and I could deflect on it a little bit as far as the brother being cool around white people, because I guess he been around white people. They invited him in, which sometimes white people do. If it's just one brother or sister or something like that, they will invite to make you feel comfortable. But it start being too many, that's when it becomes a problem, and they might move, or they might want to cause a little war. That's just how they move. I do think the system of white supremacy is very serious. They still lynching our people. They still killing our people. They shooting 5-year-old kids in the chest, 3-year-old kids in the neck, just busting in the house. We seen a mob run in on Breonna Taylor. We seen a mob run in on a little girl in Detroit, shoot her in the neck. They they behind the judges. They run the courtroom. Um, they they do run Congress. You don't see too many brothers or sisters around, and if they do, they're programmed. They're robots. So we facing. I do. And I respect you, Judge Joe Brown. I really respect you a lot, but I do disagree on one thing. I think it is worse now with us going against all of that, including the tokens they bring over here, the sabotagers that don't know nothing about this country, but back the white supremacists on every move. So we facing a lot of direction, and like my brother Nelly Fuller said, um, system white supremacy, you can't run from it. No matter where you go, where you at, you gotta face it. And if I think if you believe in God, um, you don't care about dying, and you will do whatever you could to make sure that your family is safe and defend them. You know, and I think that's how every brother and sister should honor themselves. You know, and yeah, man, and that's just about it. I just wanted to touch on that because I don't ever want us to get to the point where we think it's not serious when it's very serious. You know, and it's not nothing to play with.
You know what I find amusing about this whole discussion, especially in the context of white supremacy, is probably the most racist institution I've ever worked in my 76 years. That includes Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, North Carolina, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky. The most racist is Entertainment World, Hollywood, USA. We used to have a joke in Los Angeles. Has anybody ever found a white boy that'll acknowledge that somebody black knew something more than he did about anything except maybe basketball? And 55 years later, I'd have to say that's true in Hollywood and in LA. The most racist institution I've ever had to deal with is Hollywood. And yet we let it shape our perception of what white supremacy is and the state of the world. In other words, that's absolutely ridiculous to get your impression of conditions from your worst enemy, whose main thing is to exploit your economic vulnerability to seeking entertainments at any cost so they can keep themselves well financed and with a sufficient cash flow when they need it by appealing to your emotions. Now, I'll say this: I've had a Coke bottle shot off of my knee riding in the back of my dad's DeSoto in 1952, holding it for my mother, driving through Alabama. We left too early and it wasn't quite dark enough. Three bullets came through the car. One of them shattered the Coke on my knee. I was more worried about my mother getting mad because her Coke was gone than anything else. I've seen LAPD shoot people. I've seen cops beat people in Chicago. I've seen people get brutalized in the South. I've seen that happen in the Bay Area in California. It is nowhere near as bad now. You have no idea what it is, and people's silly opinions come up say, worst thing that ever happened to black folk is integration. It wasn't integration, it was desegregation. And that allowed integration, but the integration was a choice. Going back to the metaphor with dogs, it used to be just like you go through a park now, dogs must be on a leash, no dogs allowed. It was colored must be under white supervision. Literally, I'd seen signs like that, and I was old enough to be able to read them. And it would say no colored allowed. And when you are treated like a dog, where you are not physically allowed places, that's a whole different thing. 1966, Chicago, crap was going on. University of Illinois, Chicago campus was officially segregated. Black students were not permitted to shop in the student union bookstore except on certain days of the week at certain hours. They were not permitted to patronize certain student pubs or restaurants on campus. They couldn't congregate in certain areas. They had signs up. Hillary Clinton was there, by the way, on the other side trying to keep that in place. Bernie Sanders had just gotten out of jail from protesting that he was head of a snake chapter. But
Okay.
you see, these things are not in place now. There's nowhere in America where these are legal things. They're at least against the law. That's like saying they went robbed the store. What are we going to do about it? Well, It's against the law. That's why I have courts. They get some long time for an armed robbery, maybe. But what do you need? We need to make it stiffer. It's already a pretty stiff sentence for armed robbery. So what do you want to do? Well, now you're talking about homicide, second degree murder sentence. Well, we need to make a death. Supreme Court won't allow you to have a death penalty for armed robbery where nobody's died. Okay, so we keep going off of our immediate experience without being curious enough to take into context what's happening. It's out there. Just read it. Stop reading all this trendy shit and deal with some of the stuff that is historically relevant and gives you an analysis and an accurate reporting of actual events.
I want to go to the order is John, then two rotis, elder, empire, black native, and then I'm gonna swing back to the Negro and Love I Am. So go ahead, John.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Yeah, speaking about the movie, I'm actually about to watch it right now. But I've actually been looking into, the power grid going down for like a while now. And I of people, you can call them whatever you want, white supremacists or whatever, what I'm saying? Yeah, that some people may not want to call them that, but I know Professor Black Truth, he calls them white accelerationists. They have this ideology where they want the United States to fall so that way they can bring in this white ethno state. They want to bring in this thing where they, as you can see economically, they're already what do you call it? They're already ethnically cleansing certain areas of black people. But what they really want to do, they have the final, they want the final solution. They want to get rid of you completely. They want to liquidate the population. Now, here's the thing. I don't want us as a community to be afraid of it. I don't want us to like get all freaked out about it. Because to be honest with you, I don't really think that's a smart idea for them to do, because if you know anything about us, I always say revolutions begin when people go hungry. So you really, they don't really want anything like that to happen, especially with the current state of them, having these other issues with these other nations. So I know that'll just put them in a real peculiar position. But as a community, you should always be prepared. We should always, saying have everything situated, together, have our networks together. But if you truly want to understand how a lot of these people think, just go back and look at what happened during Hurricane Katrina. If you truly want to understand how they operate, they love situations like that, because they get to just do whatever it is that they want. They can just pick you off.
Great point.
So
Great point.
Yeah.
Let me add something. Let me ask a question. Main problem in most cities right now is violence in the inner city. Black folk killing each other. If we're so readily willing to kill each other over essentially nothing, why are we less willing to kill for something righteous? In other words, to defend ourselves from this sort of white supremacy. And by the way, if when it does spill over outside of the hood and white folk get killed because somebody is doing a hold up or something like that and it goes wrong, why doesn't that generate the race war?
I think, to be honest with you, it actually comes down to even what you said, Judge. I think, it's a manhood thing. I think a lot of times, to be honest with you, black people are afraid. That's just that's
Yeah.
just the that's just the truth. That's just the truth of the matter. We are afraid. A lot of black people don't like to sit there and say it. They like to put on this front, but that's just truthfully what it is. And to be honest with you, if something like this were to happen, I actually think it would be good for our community, because now, what I'm saying, as a group, we don't have time to sit and sleep. We don't have time to just play around. You don't have time to just sit on your hands and just, what I'm saying, you don't have time to play anymore. death is imminent, you know. And so especially for men, we understand, you know what I'm saying, we don't have what women have, so we can't show a little bit of thigh, show a bit of little cheeks or whatever it is you want to call it. We don't have that, you know what I'm saying? So our survival instincts kick in instantly. So, you know, that, you know, in a certain sense, I feel like because we've been through so much traumatically, I think in order for us to change, we may have to go through something traumatic for us to get to where it is that we need to be.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That is very right. Very, very right.
Can I reply to that? Can I reply to that statement?
No, you could wait until it's your turn, and the next person is two rotis. John, when you finish, because I'm taking my time. I'm not rushing people. We do have time. The judge have time tonight. So was that it, John, or for
Yeah,
now?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah.
All right. I want to go to two rotis.
Can you
That's
hear me,
it.
Dana?
Yes,
Two Roddies.
two Roddy. Sorry.
Can you hear? Okay, you can hear me. Uh, I appreciate you, Dana. Appreciate you too, Judge. I think y'all one of the best power couples on the metaverse that's actually getting people to understand the dynamics of what we up against. Judge, I appreciate you understands that. I look at you as a real rounded person, individual. Most of us learned you from, you know, the TV show, but even having a opportunity to gather with you on spaces, give it even better in depth to reality, like you keep trying to speak to us. It's like I don't think most of us kind of could comprehend all that you give us through what you've been exposed to. Because when I say well rounded, I take it you know, then walked past or came across those that's the who's of who, especially those that's maybe gatekeeping, you know, our way of life. You know what I mean? So with that being said, you know, even when you break it down to our military fleet, every time I be in spaces with you, I realize that you really talk most on strategy and, you know, solution. And then you give us the knowledge of, you know, where you come from. So when people constantly, you know, bring up Hollywood, I sit back and think of, you know, Hollywood might put the perspective in front of us, but why don't we go behind what we see in these movies and actually follow the people that's in power of these fears that they hold over us? You get what I'm saying? So, you know, it's a
Yeah.
good talk. You know, I don't know what movie y'all talking about, but when Love and Dana was talking about how the movie present us in it, to me, I look at it as they basically telling us we underestimate ourselves. We so quick to think of, you know, the racist part of our country that, you know, we underestimate ourselves when really we got is each other. And Judge, the question I want to ask you, does it when you in these spaces with us and in the metaverse and you learning these different opinions and personalities, do you feel like modern technology kind of distract us of the purpose of knowing the build of a nation and not just our nation, all nations? That makes sense.
2043 years ago, Julius Caesar, 2063 years ago, Julius Caesar was talking to Mark Antony. Julius Caesar had just been made dictator for life over all of Rome. Mark Antony said, Great Caesar, how do you think the Roman mob is going to react to this? He said, give them bread and circuses. Done pane e secalcie. Give them bread and circuses. Feed them and entertain them, and they won't give a damn. And that's
Which
what's going on right now. We are
wait,
entertained and we're fed, and we don't give a damn, except there's something like discussing a horror movie or an adventure movie or a mystery movie.
and just to go back real quick to Roman, I think it was you who mentioned this, or maybe I heard it somewhere else. The Colosseums were built for that purpose. Give them bread and circus. That's why they built the Colosseums.
Well, that's part of it. The Romans did this gladiatorial thing. They let the people vent their bloodlust on
Yeah. All
watching
right.
what happened in the Coliseum. So one of the interesting things about that is kind of funny
I
is
kind of
our
don't want to go into that
gladiatorial
right now.
contest, specifically football and boxing, they seem to have tamed those so much that it's not so gladiatorial anymore. And maybe the people's bloodlust isn't satisfied. They want to see it for real.
Yeah. All right. I want to go to Elder, then Empire, then Black Native, then the Negro, then Love I Am. Empire. Elder. Sorry.
Yes, good evening. How you doing, Judge?
How are you, sir?
Um, that's good. That's good. I think I look at things in a different way than a lot of people do. Um, to me, a lot of these movies, just like a lot of this damn music comes out nowadays, is just like psyops. I mean, they use it against Black America. They use it against white Americans, and it takes your focus off of what's truly happening. Uh, if something like that was to happen, as far as the power going down the power grid, I don't think it's going to be white supremacy you really have to worry about. We've let too many military age men across our borders freely. They are in our communities. So I think if the shit hit the fan, it's going to be coming from a lot of these illegal immigrants that we have in our country that's of military age. Um, as far as cyber attacks, I don't really get spooked about it because we do the same to Russia. We do the same to China. Um, but, I mean, we have weapons that they don't even know about, to be honest. Uh, I rather, I'm not really worried about cyber attacks. I worry more about like a EMP bomb, right? Electric magnetic pulse. China and them haven't developed that yet, nor has Russia. But we have some of our warships dismanned with them. It just burns up the circuitry. There's no replacing it. You just throw the damn thing away. So I think we got to be wiser than what we are, and get the big picture, think outside the box. I don't think that's what necessarily. Yeah, I mean, stop watching some of these damn shows. They're ridiculous. It's just putting up one person against the other person. So I'll land with that. You all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate you. Empire. Emperor. I'm sorry. Is it Emperor, right? I said Empire. Emperor.
Yes, I'm from the. Hello, guys. My name is
Oh no,
Olam.
honey. Your mic is a hot mess. Honey, you want to fix
No,
that audio?
you just have to mute your mic. Mute your mic. So,
No, your mic is horrible. It's horrible. Horrible. Horrible.
but can you mute your mic? Let me go. Then I'll
No,
be
we
done.
can't. I could mute my mic, but it's not me. It's you. It's your audio. It sounds like you're in literally the
No,
matrix.
no. Once you mute your mic, definitely it's going to stop. Trust me. Yeah. So George J, you can mute your mic too. So
Let's just appease him for a second, Judge. Mute your mic. Just mute your mic, Judge.
yeah. So how do you feel now? It's better, right?
Yeah, it wasn't the mute button. It was you. Oh, I didn't mean to remove him. I meant to drop him down. Sorry about that. Come back up to the space. I didn't mean to remove you from the space. But yeah, it was you. All right. Black Native.
Hey, peace to the room. Hey, Dana. Hey, Judge Joe Brown.
All right.
Hey,
How about both of you this evening?
we're
I'm a,
good. I'm well.
okay, I'm glad to hear it. I'm gonna speak about the movie. I did watch it. Um, what piqued my interest is when I saw Michelle Obama and Barack Obama as producers. And I was in the space literally, so I kept rewinding it because I was watching it while I was in the space, and I got out of the space. And let me watch this movie. So I rewind it back, and I said, okay, so they're producing the movie. That's interesting. And what I got from it was, like you said, the black father, his daughter was trying to tell him, hey, like, look, we're all we got. Like, you're my only family. We have to look out for ourselves. And it was like he was oblivious to that. And what I thought was, remember her mother was on a trip, and they were she finally, they were like, "Well, maybe she's dead because all the planes were crashing." I was wondering if he was married to a white woman, because it just seemed like he was so comfortable, like in that situation. And how it was like that was his house, but they were sleeping in the basement, and she brought that to his attention, and I was like, "Yeah, why are you sleeping in the basement and they upstairs in the big house and you down in the basement? That's kind of odd." And so one of the brothers kind of took my thoughts when he said, "We really want to see how people react when we're actually in crisis, Hurricane Katrina, and then let's look at COVID. What happened during COVID? It was like a fight for your lives. Like, I literally went to Walmart to get water, and they were knocking me and my mother over for water. All the tissue paper was gone. That was kind of where, why are you not buying soap, but you're buying toilet paper?" So it's always, you have to be on survival mode. You can't put anybody ahead of you in certain situations like that. The only thing I was kind of threw me off were the deer. Why were the deer like acting the way they were acting? Because it was some kind of bomb that they were throwing. It was messing with their ears. So I was like, I know the animals can, their hearing is more sensitive than humans. So I'm kind of wondering, like, what was the significance of that scene when the deer surrounded the daughter and the Julia Roberts in the shed. So I was kind of wondering what anybody got from that. But overall, it was kind of like a propaganda movie. It was another doomsday movie, the apocalyptic movie. Like, I mean, we've seen so many of these different movies. And the Obamas being behind it. That's the first time like I've ever seen like a ex-president, ever produce something. Him and his wife, are they getting into movies now? Like, what's really going on? So that was my take on it. There wasn't really too much of the movie for me, except for self-preservation. When the shit hits the fan, the only people you have to rely on is you and your family. And I've seen that during COVID. We've seen it during Hurricane Katrina, and any other kind of incident where it's just like, some type of apocalyptic something happening that's, going to have everybody running and being scared and, looking out for themselves. So that was my take on the movie.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with the deers. I don't know, Judge, if you have any thing. Do animals turn on humans if with radioactive sound? I have no idea. That was a little bit odd, but maybe the deers was trying to tell them something. And they just couldn't speak English. But again, that's part of the silly, weird shit that was in this movie. We're giving this movie a lot of promotion right now because bad promotion is still good promotion. But it was just a lot of weird shit. And everything that I see the Obama's name on, I'm going to look at it. Okay, what is this weird shit that they putting out now? I think this is their first movie, fictional movie that they produce, because they usually put out like documentaries and stuff. Who was the Negro, then Love I Am. And anybody else want to request to come up, please do so. I'm gonna get to a YouTube question, and if nobody else requests to come up, then I guess we could start winding it down. So go ahead, the Negro. Oh, and
Yeah,
then John got his hand up. I guess I'll swing back to John too. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. I just want to be brief. We got to keep in mind that in Texas, when people say that there was white supremacists that did attack the power grid, I wouldn't say that that's far fetched or something that we should um, knocked down. There are situations in Texas, which I did post an article, due to the fact that the government officials in that community did not see the value of supporting the power grid and upgrading the power grid. It resorted in a lot of Texan people, mostly in our Black communities, that were disenfranchised when it came to heat, electricity, and other resources. So I think that we should um, learn how to adapt and learn how to overcome these third world type of conditions because of the structural racism that's going on in the United States. I could point to Flint. I could point to other structural racism crimes that were specifically designed for our community to fail. So that would be kind of my retort to both of you guys, because I'm going to blame the white supremacists all day.
Okay. Love I am. And then John. Wait, Judge, can you hear us?
I hear you.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Love I am. Love I am. You can mute. Can she unmute? All right. I want to go. John, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know what happened. Maybe she raised her hand by accident. Love I am.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But no, I kind of wanted to piggyback off what the judge was actually saying about the Roman Empire. Technically, if you want to just kind of analyze the situation here in the United States, I mean, technically, we're living in the Roman Empire 2.0. This is essentially the same thing. Um, and one of the main reasons why they need the bread in the Colosseum type of situation, they need the media and things like that, is to keep people distracted, because um as Black Native, she was speaking on what was going on during COVID. um the fact that you had those lockdowns, um that really triggered something in people. The fact that people, they couldn't be entertained and things like that. The fact that they couldn't watch football and basketball, and stuff like that. What I'm saying, it's just too much stuff was going on, and it had people focusing in on their situations, and that can backfire on the quote unquote uh ruling emperors here that we have. That's what I'll just call them that for now, the ruling emperors of the United States. So they need us to be focused in on something else, what I'm saying, versus them, because we are, they're the few and we're the many.
Judge, would you say some of these people uh used their power and got complacent with it and just grew like a malicious authority because they can in their mind?
Maybe. See, there are two types of power. There's the stick and the carrot. The carrot can be used to bribe the stick, and the stick can also beat the hell out of whoever's holding the carrot and take the carrot. So we have a balance between those with the finances who have to pay for stuff, the folk who are badass enough to threaten them with alternatives that are unpleasant if they don't get the finance, and those who have power but are not into real power, who can be bribed with the carrot. So it's a balance between those two factors. And then we have a third one, which is the brain. Who's most important person? J.P. Morgan, Franklin
Almost,
Delano Roosevelt,
almost as if who works
MacArthur,
within
the
whose pocket.
general, or Albert Einstein? Which one is the most important? Which one
Albert
is the rich?
Einstein.
Yeah, J.P. Morgan was the richest. The general would be MacArthur. He was the baddest with wielding the stick. Einstein could make the damn stick, and FDR could put together the package to use it. So, which one of them is most valuable, or are they all interdependent? See, we get to focusing too much on the guy with the carrot,
Mm-hmm.
and we make them boogeyman, Baba Yaga.
Love I am. Can you hear me? All right. I don't know. You're still muted, but you had your hand up. So I don't know if you can hear us. Oh, let me get to the question that was on YouTube. This was in the beginning because this is going, it's 2 hours and 45 minutes. It says this is by Young Dorf Unsolved. Can you please look at the evidence we have relating to Young Dorf case? We have proof that Young Dorf was kidnapped, robbed, and murdered by members of his family and Tennessee government. And he goes on to say, we have evidence proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is a multi-million dollar robbery slash kidnapping and blackmail scheme orchestrated by Tennessee government. That would be for you, Judge.
Who put this out?
This is on YouTube.
Bullshit.
Okay.
Right
So,
now, they've got two young men in custody that essentially, the word on the streets is they've been told to take a dive or die. And young Dolph knew he was going to die because he had fucked some people over. And he expected to, and that's why there were two previous but failed hits on him. He was very incautious being in that particular shop he was in with the large plate glass window and wasn't watching his back.
is it
Very
possible that his family members could have set him up to be gunned down?
well, not necessarily.
Judge, I look at it as the people in business with these labels.
Well, that may be the case too, but see, here's another thing I've run into. The rap artists want street credibility. So what they do is they affiliate with an organization and they can either get made in the traditional way because they already were part of it, or they can buy in. A lot of them buy in, but they try to go for bad when they're doing it, and they get caught up in situations that they ain't ready to handle.
I
So
have another
people die.
question. I have another question from YouTube by JT. He says, ask the judge, did he know that SpaceX will launch a rocket into space tomorrow morning at 3:20 a.m.? It will carry a secret military space plan. Google it.
Well, if it's secret, they're not going to tell you what it is, and they're not going to say, "Hey, guess what? We're sending a top secret thing in there." So Chinese, you got a good opportunity to see if you can hack it. But you see what Musk is doing, SpaceX is doing. They're trying to deal with a reality that most people are completely ignorant of. And in order to preserve humanity, since we won't stop fucking and reproducing, we need more space. And maybe by the time we run out of it, we will have learned this time around. So they need to get off planet. They need to get back onto the moon and then stage from there to Mars. Musk's Starship is a very powerful system that has effectively a space vehicle component that can carry up to 200 people, either passengers or explorers or scientists, or engineers or miners or whatever. It has an absolutely huge lift capacity. And they need to get it to the moon so they can reestablish a moon base and use that moon base to establish a launch to get to Mars, of which they can carry the same 200 passenger lift load. Now, why is that important? Aside from the hazardous asteroid that's overdue for doing this planet in and doing what happened with their dinosaurs 65.6 or 7 million years ago, there is this supergiant red star called Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse, depending upon how you want to pronounce it. A couple of years ago, it had astronomers very concerned because it was pulsing. And when a supergiant red star like that pulses, it usually goes supernova sometime shortly after. Now the problem is this thing is 520 light years away. So when they looked at it pulsing, that was 520 some years ago. And in the time since, the thing could have gone supernova. And if the axis of its spin is unfortunately pointed at Earth, the energy field will be arriving at the speed of light. So we will get no prior warning. We'll just get hit. And if it's pointed at us, the whole planet gets fried. There's nobody on it. But the beam, if you want to call it that, will be narrow enough so that Mars might get hit, or the Earth might get hit, or Venus, or maybe none of the above, but we want to be in at least two places so everybody doesn't get fried with the roaches.
Okay.
Now, that's
Okay.
that's
Well,
astronomy
I
and physics.
And I don't want to go any deeper because my brain will just be flipping. But I sum it up by saying nature is always wins. Nature wins. Nature wins.
So that means we have to do something to change nature. By the way, anybody ever heard of this thing called survival of the fittest? That's Darwin. It's usually the strongest, fastest, most intelligent, most enduring, etc., but not always. Because what he meant was, excuse me, what he meant was, is if you have two competing organisms of a similar nature, the one that has the most offspring in the next generation is the fittest. So if you want to look at America, who is it that has the most offspring for the next generation? Are they the most intelligent, the strongest, the fastest?
Mm-hmm.
And that means that as the future goes on, the fittest, by that definition, are going to more likely characterize the human race. So, are we getting smarter or are we getting dumber? Are we getting stronger or are we getting weaker? Are we getting healthier or are we developing some bad habits? See, so you have to consider this.
Shy, you came back
So
up.
we may have to modify ourselves a
All
little
right.
bit to keep
Because
up with nature.
we're gonna close this down in 10 minutes. So if anybody want to speak, please do so. I love how you can't hear me, so I don't know. Maybe she didn't want to speak again. But go ahead, Shy, and then we're gonna close.
Thank you. Just touching on what the judge is saying right now, and what his Neil deGrasse Tyson, whatever, bro.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, yeah. So he said that in terms of the possibilities of finding the most intelligent, the most of anything, the worst and the best, is going to be among the population of the Niger Congo people, because among that ethnic group, you have the most diverse genetic pool of any human beings. And so he explained a little bit more, but basically that was his point, was that you're going to find the best and the worst among that population because of the genetic pool is so diverse. But I want to touch on nature. Nature is true. Nature is going to have the last say. However, I am a big not proponent, but I hold the pillar for the African spiritual sciences, right? So there are these priests they call the Iwarefas in Ile-Ife, Nigeria, which is the seat of the Yoruba uh, nation, right? And their ancient homeland. They say all humanity began in Ile-Ife, right? That's their story of creation. But basically, these priests, and there are supposed to be other priests in the world in different cultures that have this responsibility of keeping the world cool. And for every day of the year, there is a ritual. They make sacrifice for the world, and um, they do that every day of the year. That's part of their job. Um, so that's one thing. The other thing is that, and I'm going to land on this point, is that the Dogon people have a very high knowledge of astrophysics. They're not the only ones, but I think if we pay attention to those cultures, those ancient cultures that come from our cultures, our ancient cultures, that we would have the best chance of subverting, avoiding uh, natural catastrophe like that, as long as we can do what we do. So we're struggling right now with the Oshun River, where the Chinese are mining upstream, and it's affecting and polluting the water. So the question would be, well, how come we're not affecting that? Well, they're working on that, but that again is the people working against the directive of what's being said by the elders and the priests of that the caretakers of that body of water. So, and the government is allowing these people to work against the interest of what's being given as advice. So I think is if we tap into that and we do the best that we can do. Again, that's a fight because Europeans, the Western world, is going to do what they do, which is why we're in the situation we are today with the world and the heating of the world.
I wanna let
If
everybody know. Okay.
Beetlejuice
So
goes off and does what it does, there's nothing anybody on this planet can do if the beam or the blast is aimed in this direction. We're done. Now,
well, I just don't want to feel no pain, honey. If we're done, just
oh,
let it
you
go.
you you fry up pretty quickly, I guess.
Oh,
But
God.
anyway,
I don't want to feel it. I just don't want to feel it. Let's let it go that quick.
it might not happen in your time, but it will
Oh,
soon
good.
enough. So it's a good idea to get it together. See, you could technically terraform Mars in 100 years or so, and start dispensing with the heavy exosuits that you need right now to get along on the place. 100
Um.
years, that's back at the beginning of the 20th century to now.
So I wanna close out with a couple of things. I put in a jumbotron, the website, therealdatanetwork.com, and I want to encourage people to go there to subscribe because that way you can hear Judge Joe Brown uncensored. We was doing a Thursday show on my YouTube channel, The Real Dana, and YouTube is on something else, so we can't talk about the things that we usually talk about, and he can't talk about the things that you guys really want him to talk about. So I created a website. It's only $10 a month. So go and subscribe, and he will do go. He's gonna go down the rabbit hole, And and it's gonna be this Thursday. And the topic this Thursday via the website is, how did the most persecuted religious group in the world, Jewish people, um, become the most powerful group in the world. And we're not going to discuss that now. That's for Thursday. So go to the website and subscribe. Thank you to all the speakers that came up. Thank you to all of the listeners. And, I noticed that men, you do gravitate towards the military talk. I find it very boring, military and cyber stuff or whatever. But that was still a good discussion. And I'm glad people were listening and, engaged in that. um, and then what I was saying, food shortage, messing with quality of life limited. I think that was to the topic or whatever. So yeah. So go to the website, therealdatanetwork.com, and subscribe. And I just want to say again, thank you to and everybody on YouTube listening. Woman Queen, I don't know, are you trolling? Because you're like killing my chat right now just with 2 words. But thank you, everybody on YouTube and everybody here. And Judge Joe Brown, please close us out. I don't know what happened to Love I Am, honey. She probably got a phone call and forgot her hand was up. Um, Close us out, Judge.
All right. Basically, the message is work at it. Harder you work at it, the less work remains to be done. And the harder you work at it, the better able are to do the work that needs to be done. The smarter you become and the more work you can find, so you become very progressively oriented toward development. That's a good thing.
That's
With
it.
that in
Okay.
mind, work at it.
Okay. um, Glad I didn't donate, honey. I'm about to put your ass on a timeout. Y'all do too. People do too
Who was
much.
this? Did she get? Was that the one that dropped or got cut
No, no,
off?
no. This is on
Appreciate you, Miss
YouTube.
Dana.
YouTube people do too much. Y'all do too much. And I'm putting you on a 30-minute timeout, honey. And we about to end. So I
I
don't know
mean,
what.
what is her grievance?
I don't. She just putting silly stuff, fake hair, fake nails, and somebody dumb. I'm glad I didn't donate. Just two words.
Question. What the hell did the fake nails have to do with this
I
conversation?
have no idea. That's I'm like people just be doing too much, and it's like YouTube is something else. Honey. Now I know in Twitter with some of these spaces, people be doing too much too. But YouTube is a whole nother beast. Like y'all do too much. So yeah, it's so annoying. But this was a good discussion, and every Tuesday, so the judge is kind of back on schedule. And thank you everybody for coming in. Please go to the website, therealdatanetwork.com, and sign up. And they actually, you are invited to go on News Toter. I don't know exactly when. I have to ask him. So the judge will be on News Toter's Twitter space one day soon. Um, yeah, thank you, Shamika. She is a troll and a distraction. Um, so
What's her
happy holidays,
objective?
everybody.
What's her objective?
None. She don't have. I guess just to be a troll. That's the objective.
So
And that's
it's just you're just supposed to be an agent of chaos.
right. And there's too many of that now. And I mean, with YouTube, you could just time them out, or you can hide them from the channel. But it's like, listen, we're talking about cyber attacks. Like, this was a really good discussion. Yeah, it was the movie, but it was still very informative. The discussions that we were having, and the statements and questions people were bringing up on the space. So I just think people just stay. It's more people, I believe, that are more focused. But like, you have trolls that try to come in, like you said, be a agent of chaos, but and just doing too much.
I
But
mean, just question: are they trying to be impressive or something?
I think they want attention, so they
Uh,
got it, and I timed them out. But all right, so next Tuesday, most likely we'll be back here every Tuesday, and
okay.
then yeah, everybody have a wonderful night. Go ahead, Judge,
Yeah.
close us out. Do what you say. Say what you-
Hey, tune in, subscribe, and it'll be Joe After Dark and Uncensored.
But you say bye, how I gotta go, something. Your little
Oh, how
rhyme.
by gotta go? This has been Judge Joe. Call me when you can, since I'm the one that ran.
Yes. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a happy holidays if you celebrate, and have a wonderful week. And we'll see you back on Twitter Space next Tuesday. Catch us on YouTube, The Real Dana, and go to the website so you can catch the judge after dark and uncensored at therealdananetwork.com. Good night.
Yo.